Microphone's working, music's playing, and there's enough alterations to make me really contemplate just chugging this. Hey everyone, welcome back to another content update stream. I'm not going to enjoy this one, I can already tell. First off, to anyone that wasn't in the Discord, Merry Christmas, guys. I hope you all had fun, happy holidays, saw your family, did whatever the jam is you do. Yeah. It's been very busy last few days, driving around, seeing family, doing all sorts of different stuff. I got back in the door not even 2 hours ago. So it was come in, unpack, kind of set up my thumbnail, get my tush comfy in my chair, and crack open a cold one in preparation for this. As soon as I saw somebody DM me and say, hey, there's a lot of alterations here, and lots of event suits, like, you know, event capsule stuff, it's like, lovely fun. So we're gonna, I guess, start from the top, work our way down. As we have a more than normal amount of content to cover this time, as not only do we have our event shop gacha content and normal alteration pulls to look through, we also have the event gacha to peek through. I'm gonna say make sure you have your popcorn, make sure you're all comfy and cozy, because we're gonna be here a long time and y'all get to enjoy my suffering. Let's get started, I guess. So, starting from the top, we got our event suit. Now, I will say, when I saw the thumbnail for this event, I originally thought the Ale Strike. Lo and behold, it's the G Self with the atmospheric pack. Hopefully you can understand my confusion. So, let's get started with the atmospheric coin. And, oh, hold on. We're getting a rerun event as well with the Akatsuki, eh? Huh. Is this an alternate attribute? Is this an alternate attribute, guys? Also, I've noticed the noise gate on my mic's gone. Give me a second here. Can't have that. I don't want all the noise coming from my... There we go. That's better. Oh, I do need to modify the gain on this mic. Oh, no. Now it's not properly picking up my voice. I think I just need to buy a new microphone. This one's gotten a little wonky recently. Okay. That should be a little more sensitive. Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. We'll go with that for now, and we'll play with it as we go. You know, reading from the top here, Jun, just know my heart goes out to you. Thanks for saying we can skip alterations, but you and I both know that the people are here to watch me suffer. So I'm gonna have to suffer, but good news, not only do I have my can of the good juice, I also got a bottle of the good juice. I was prepared. And if all things go to crap, I have an extra bottle of the good juice. And if somehow we go through all of that, there's still a little extra of the really good juice at the end. I have prepared. So, let's get taking a look. We're going to start with the G Self. We're going to work through the normal event content. And then we're going to take a look at the Akatsuki alternate attribute. Now, I saw somebody mention there are two different packs. You're not wrong. I just believe that the Dragoon pack is the one that we already got previously, as that's the one that creates the barrier around the Akatsuki. I don't think we've got the Ale backpack version of it yet. I may be mistaken, because at the same time, we also have how many 1,000+ suits in this game now? I honestly can't remember every single suit we have in here anymore, or all of their traits, or EX skill animations. I don't know why you people remember this stuff. That's crazy talk. Please help yourselves. This is not new. I can see it already in my... Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, I can see the Awashi pack is what we have here. And that's... Oh, that's the... So wait, we haven't gotten the Dragoon one, but we got the Ale backpack one before? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, man. What? Oh, dude. Alright. Anyways, let's start with the G-Self. We gotta get cracking on this, otherwise I'm gonna be here very long time. I've already kind of prepared myself for a 2-hour stream. And I hope the rest of you have as well. So, Gundam G-Self Atmospheric Pack Type. I'm gonna start with the noggin and work our way down. I'm also gonna turn down the brightness on this because it is frying my eyeballs today. Yeah, wow. Okay, that's a little better. Actually, I wonder, can I change the lighting type so I don't look like a red tomato? Well, there's a lot of color options. Yeah, you know what? That'll do. I don't like the harsh on my eyes, but you know what? I don't look like a tomato anymore. I'll take it. Anyways, part traits. G-Self Atmospheric Head. When armor's 80% or less, reduce cooldown by 50% once. So the biggest issue with this, obviously, when your armor's 80% or less, this does require you to take damage. We no longer have a way to cheese starting at a lower armor percentage. We used to with when we had cost in the game, but now that cost has been removed, which is a blessing in itself, we no longer are able to start the match off with lowered armor, meaning you do actually have to take damage for this, which can add extra time to your match and a slew of other potential problems. But the reduced cooldowns by 50% once is very powerful. As, you know, on the tin does exactly as printed, your cooldowns will just kind of 50% gone. Very cool. I don't like the fact it requires you to take damage. That used to be really good, but now it's much more demerit than anything else. Although I guess when you come to traits, the first line is kind of the demerit, what you need to activate the thing. But this is like an actual active on the level of, you know, 4 space and 4 base, you know, shooting yourself in the foot to get something kind of neat out of it at the end of the day. So, Gundam type Ace exclusive. Very on point word tags, both of them very powerful. Looking at the stat distribution of the G-Self here, you can see it's definitely skewed kind of with a very interesting, like more melee centric spread. Do keep in mind when it comes to welfare mobile suits or Gunpla, whatever you want to use. When we look at our shot attack post power creep, which happened during not this anniversary, but the previous anniversary, we're looking at something, actually, yeah, it was, you know, a while back. Anyways, we're looking at definitely past 3,000 is like the bare minimum we expect now for a shot head. Once you're looking at 35, 36, 3,700, that's kind of where we start seeing shot heads kind of cut off. As for melee, we typically see anywhere from around 1,000 to 1,100, kind of in there. When it's more melee focused, though, it goes up to 1,200, goes up to 1,300, with carryover goes up to like 16, 17, 1,800, right? And that's kind of the really high end of things. Looking at this suit here, it kind of packs both. So you're not going to break 4K shot with this. You're looking at like 36, 3,700 or so shot attack, which is still definitely on the higher end of the spectrum. But more so, you're looking at like 15, 1,600 melee attack. And that's really interesting to see. This is like kind of the 50-50 suit, but like both of the stats are definitely up there in terms of value. It's weird. It's not a bad weird. It's just weird. The word tags Gundam type and Ace exclusive obviously work very well with the stat distribution. Gundam type being super accessible, available in a ton of parts across the board, activates a slew of traits that just beautiful. Ace exclusive is what you would expect to see on most, if not every shot build, as it's one of the 2 core tags that boosts your offensive stat by 10%. So with that in mind, with Gundam type boosting your shot attack, Ace exclusive boosting your shot attack, your first thought would be, this is a shot part. You're not wrong, but with that really high melee distribution on the head, that's a little weird. But again, it's a good weird. So statistically, this thing is like really nice, all things considered, for a welfare. The tags are workable, they're powerful, and the trait, unfortunately, kind of falls short there. But when you consider everything else, and, you know, you can always replace the trait or EX skill with something else, you know what? Heck, man, it's not a bad part. You got the numbers. Torso. G self combination. So blow the enemy away with vigorous punches, then bisect them with your beam saber. Keep in mind, this is a bindable cutscene skill, so it doesn't have the normal demerits we'd see in a melee EX skill. However, it does have C power. A plus pierce, but C power. That does really reduce the overall effectiveness of this. You get a 20% speed boost, you get a 29% melee attack boost, and you get a 19% shot defense boost. Now, the 29% melee attack boost is definitely the standard we expect to see from welfare suits that have this kind of buffing skill built into a damage type. If we saw it at 39%, that would put it into that very top bracket for what we'd see from welfare, but this sits in kind of the average at 29%. Makes sense though, as it also increases speed and the melee shot defense, and because of that, it reduces the overall value of the primary stat boost. However, at the end of the day, the C power is a huge demerit onto this. If this was at least like a B minus, this would be really, really nice with that A plus pierce. But with that excessively low power on a welfare part, you'll get some mileage out of it as a new player. Absolutely. C power, the 29% melee attack boost, A plus pierce, you're going to be doing damage. But this will fall off relatively quickly, especially when you start getting your 4-star pick tickets, as we have tons of stuff available in that pool that long and short put this to shame overall. But for like a baby's first part, you're looking for a nice little cutscene EX to make the day. Here you go. It's not inherently terrible for a welfare. It sits at a very healthy position, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, the C power is nah, G. All right. Statistically, okay. So we're looking at about 1650-ish, 1700, kind of in that bracket range melee attack, which for torso part, very high. Impressed. Shot attack, we're looking at about 1450. Yeah, 1450, 15 if we're like being really generous about it. Overall, it was pretty good. So statistically, this part, very nice. Definitely more melee centric than shot centric, but as a beginner part, able to serve both roles very well numerically. Right? Tags, Gundam type Ace exclusive. Both these are carried over as well from the head. Cool beans. It's a little weird, again, that we're seeing like melee dominance on this part, all things considered, when the tags are saying, hey, I'm a shot machine, use me. Yeah, interesting. Not a bad part. The EX skill does leave a little to be desired, but okay. Let's check out those arms. What are you benching, my guy? Well, Pro Tag, enemy EX skill damage plus 25%. So, I do go over this every stream, but I'll do it again for the first time, just in case. The way that this reads makes it look like, hey, the enemy is doing more damage to you. No, it's a bad translation, or at least displayed poorly. The way that this actually should be read is the enemy is taking 25% extra EX skill damage. On paper, there's two types of damage buffs in this field. We have EX skill damage boosted by whatever percent, and then we have this, enemy EX skill damage plus whatever percent. Even though they do, at kind of a fundamental level, the same thing, you're doing 25% more EX skill damage, they slot into different places in the damage formula. Meaning, if you have a ton of EX skill damage boosted whatever percent, and none of this, you'll still do a good amount of damage. But if you took about half of those and managed to find parts that do enemy EX skill damage plus 25%, overall, you'll do more damage, because that's just the way the formula works. It's like a min-max thing. Don't worry about it. Just understand it functionally does kind of the same thing. But you do have the requirement of needing Pro Tag. It's a little weird with this suit, but we'll get there. At the end of the day, needing Pro Tag for this works well, as it is kind of a neutral boost, EX skill damage plus, not like melee damage plus or shooting damage plus. So this is technically usable on shot and melee builds, but with Pro Tag, that's going to be a melee build. Let's be real about that. Overall, very easy requirement to meet, very powerful activation, like what it actually does for a welfare. Nice. Gundam type Pro Tag tags. So we got rid of our Ace exclusive, which is shot centric, and we're bringing in Pro Tag, which is melee centric. It makes sense when you consider the trait that this part has. Statistically, I should also point out, as arms are one of the primary stat givers for melee builds, it really makes sense that they got rid of the shot stuff and brought in the melee on this part. Interesting. Anyways, statistically, we're looking at about 3,900 melee attack in that bracket range. That is very, very high for a welfare part. That's, that good numbers. You got no complaints there. Good numbers. Shot-wise, 1,500 alone. Before we even do carryover, 1,500 is extremely high for a non-shot centric arm. That's for welfare, non-shot centric arm. Do remember, way back when the game originally launched, the best shot arm we had was the Wing Gundam arm. And that was like, what, 1,100 something, 1,154 or whatever. And that was like the shot arm for a while until we started seeing much more specialized arms in that department. Looking at this, just out of the box, topping that, that's really good. Post power creep, this sits pretty high up just with the raw numbers above most other arms, even shot welfare arms, which is weird. They stop at like 1,400. With carryover, it's not as impressive as, there's not a lot of shot defense on this, 460 pretty much. So we're looking at like 1625, 1650, kind of around there. Not really turning any heads, but at the end of the day, very nice shot attack for a melee centric arm and very good melee numbers on this. So again, statistically, no problems here. Very symbiotic part all across the board. It's an arm, which means it's more melee centric. It got rid of Ace exclusive to bring on Pro Tag, which is a melee focused tag. It has a trait that's like, hey man, Pro Tag, melee, you're getting that EX skill damage boost. It all works together very, very well. I like this part. It's not amazing for a welfare pool. It's pretty damn good, but 4-star pick ticket, you'll probably able to find something that overall does more. But for what this is, damn fine, son. The good days. I don't know about that one, Jun. I don't know about that one, Chief. Launch, while it was fun experimenting and kind of stumbling around in the dark and figuring out the what for, gotta say, there's a lot of quality of life stuff that's been added and just general stuff in like the current version of the game. I could not go back. Anyways, legs for the G-Self. When squad has all attributes, EX skill cooldown reduced by 23%. So this is very straightforward. In any content where you're able to run more than one suit, you can typically run 3. And this just says you have 1 of speed, 1 of power, 1 of technique. You put those 3 together, bada boom, you're going to activate this. Skill cooldown reduced by 23%. Outside of, I guess actually not outside of, but within the welfare pool, this I believe is the highest modifier we have. That alone is really nice. However, the activation requirements, not that great. The squad having all attributes, it does kind of limit what you're able to field. Not everyone has speed, power, technique suits for, their normal squad that they run for content. So this is a little bit on the restrictive side, but the result is pretty powerful. So if it works for you, awesome. If it doesn't, I'm not that surprised. There's a lot of other options though, so don't sweat it too much. Gundam type Pro Tag word tags. I've already talked about this combination. Cool beans. Do keep in mind, just before we look at the statistics for this part, typically the legs and the backpack have the lowest offensive distribution of the entire frame of the Gundam. So that means, head, torso, arms, legs, backpack. That's the frame, so to speak. So when we're looking at these numbers, post power creep, 1,000 to 1,100 on the legs or backpack is really, really nice to see. That's kind of like the, you're not complete garbage. 12, 1300 is the, yeah, you got some good numbers on there. Once we go past that, we see like 1500, 1600. That's like in the top 1% bracket kind of area for these parts. And anything beyond that, obviously, gravy. So let's see here. What do we got? 1500 melee attack right out of the gate. Awesome. With carryover, it's like 1700. Yeah. All right. You got it, Chief. Those are some nice legs. Guide to checking the new suits pilot. New pilot, event capsule, 3 suit, alteration. Yeah, alteration always goes last. I was going to integrate the new event capsules with the gacha stuff because it's all in the same area. So I was going to event suit, gacha for the new content, and the event capsules, and then into alterations like we normally do, just kind of inserting that new thing. And if there's any new like PvP shop stuff or arena coin stuff, right, that I'd slide that in probably during the event period. Is there new arena coin stuff? I heard somebody mention that. I'm not sure if they were crazy talk or not. Anyway, stats. Melee attack for this part, amazing. For shot attack, 1395 base, good stuff. After carryover, 1415, 1550. Honestly, statistically, these legs, much like the rest of the suit, very powerful. Now, I don't know if this is because this is the air quote Christmas, even though it's a little late, welfare suit, but these numbers are really, really good. This definitely sits very high up in terms of just raw numbers for welfare suits. That's really nice to see. Yeah. So the trait, it does have a very powerful, like what it does is very powerful. The cooldown reduction, 23%. The activation requirement, though, needing all attributes in your squad, is a little bit on the harsh side when you consider it can be tough to run one of every attribute in a balanced team. But, mileage may vary, obviously, but very powerful what it does. The tags, Gundam type pro tag, flexible, powerful, good stuff. Statistically, nice. All right, let's look at our backpack. Ooh, we got an EX skill here, laser pod. Okay, so this part, on paper, to first glance, I like it. We're looking at D Pierce B Power. That is the standard spread that we see for most magazine EX skills. This has 11 magazine. Perfect. That is the standard value that we see even on Limited and Sokai. Very, very rarely does it go above 11. So awesome stuff here. Fire the laser pods in your main wings. You can move while firing. On paper, this looks like your bog standard magazine EX skill. It's on the backpack. Cool stuff. This is accessible for new players, giving them an amazing magazine EX skill to start off with. For people that need a magazine EX, here you go. Cool beans. It's pretty hard to beat free. Statistically, 1680 melee attack. All right, we're just busting the bank on the numbers here. Sure. Okay. We're looking at about, 250 or so? Yeah, about 250 or so carryover. So that's like 1930, 1950. Honestly, crazy high melee on that backpack. All right. However, the EX skill is shot, not melee. What are the shot numbers looking like? 1356 base, and we're looking 200-ish carryover, so 1550, 1560. Still very good. Not as good as the 1900 melee attack, but for for what it is, welfare backpack, 1600. Solid. Good numbers. Very good numbers. Gundam type mid-range tags. So we've gotten rid of Ace exclusive. We've gotten rid of Pro tag. Instead, we're using mid-range. This is another tertiary tag, much like Gundam type. And just to clarify, when I say tertiary tag, typically in a melee build, you're going to have mobile fighter and pro tag. Those are your primary tags. Both give 10% of melee attack to your suit when they're active. Then you have a third slot open. That's kind of your flex slot, and that's what I call tertiary. So you could use Gundam type, you could use mid-range, you could use close combat, could use high firepower. All of these I classify as tertiary tags because they are that third slot. They're not your primary, and you already kind of have a secondary tag filled out with the other primary tag for your suit. So that's why I call them tertiaries. So with this, you got 2 tertiaries. Both of them, however, are much more centric towards shot versus melee. Little weird when you think that, this part is much more focused on melee than shot, but as the EX skill is shot, I love it. Very good. Overall, nice part. Very powerful EX skill with it being a true blue magazine. Very good numbers on this for a welfare. I got no complaints. It helps that the backpack looks pretty sleek as well. I'm still a fan of the ale backpack from the Strike, but you could argue that's bias. Just the GX effects Vulcans. Where's the sound? I'm just catching up on chat here because you guys are typing up a storm when I'm not looking sometimes. Louis is planning to get back in the game. Is an excellent time to get back. As Bandai added more challenging content. It really depends on who you talk to. It's always a nice time to come back to the game if there's ever a suit that you want particularly that got added in. Overall, though, there's no crazy, challenging content to say. It's been the same thing for the last year. PvP, multi-missions, that's pretty much it. If you're not interested in either of those, then there's really nothing except, the hard and very hard mode maps to do, but those are just numbers games, and considering the inflation we have for stats, not really a big deal. If you have a new account, you're like, I'm going to start a brand new account and come in, honestly, great time to do it. The G self here is packing heat, so to speak. So yeah. Save your hearts for the next limited and get the parts that you want. Don't roll on regular Sokai banner. Yeah, that's the standard advice that we typically give any player. The only time you should ever use your Haro chips, there's really 2 times you should ever really think about ever using your Haro. The first time is a limited or Sokai gets added that you really like, or even a standard suit that you really, really like. We're talking, it was the suit that got you into Gundam. We're talking this is something you look at and you go, this is my favorite suit ever. Rolling your chips for that? Go for it, man. Go with your favorites. Everything is workable. Obviously, if it's not a limited, you can get kind of you probably shouldn't, because you can use 4-star pick tickets to just grab it for free after a few weeks. But at the same time, if you like the suit, go for it. And the only other time you should ever use your Haro chips is if the part that comes out is so unbelievably meta defining that you're just hurting yourself by not having it. But again, that only matters if you're running PvP content, because outside of PvP, it doesn't matter. So yeah. And just things to keep in mind when you're playing the game. For example, the Kshatriya. As much I love the Kshatriya, the quad is one of my favorite suits that I've ever seen in Gundam. Honestly, I love the way it is. However, I cannot, in good faith, look at another player and go, you should roll all your Haro on the Kshatriya. It's not an amazing suit, but I love it. And that's why, if you go through my old video history, you'll find that video where I rolled 90,000 Haro to, get the Kshatriya. I don't recommend it, And that's the way that a lot of the suits are in this game. You roll for your favorites. You roll potentially for anything meta-defining if you're really into that rat race PvP mentality. But really, just save your Haro, roll on what you want. If you're a brand new player, just play the game, get the 4-star pick tickets, grab stuff that looks nice. You can probably ask the community, hey, brand new player, what 4-star parts should I get? And they can give you dozens of different types of builds to go for. You can just save your Haro until something you really, really like comes out. So yeah, and as Strike Zero pointed out as well, there are very rare occasions where they will release a time-limited banner where it's for 36 hours or whatever, you get 400% rates on everything. So effectively every multi-roll, you're going to get nothing but 6-star parts or whatever. Those are worth it to roll on a couple of times to pad out your parts if you don't have anything. But as you collect more parts, as you start establishing your account further and further and further, that's not going to be as useful for you, and the horror to returns is going to obviously go down. So, but again, that's completely up to you as a player. It's recommended, save for the stuff you like. Anyways, back to what we were doing with the G-Self. Let's take a look at our daggers. Well, beam sabers, but they're classified as daggers. I don't make the rules. While Pro Tag, all enemy cooldown time up 17%. This is a very weird trait. Easy to activate. Pro Tag, dime a dozen. I don't even know how many parts in this game. Hundreds of parts in this game have Pro Tag. It is so easy to get this. You're more likely to trip over a part that has this than not. Let's be real here. Now, the activation's a little weird though. All enemy cooldown time up 17%. On paper, sounds pretty straightforward. In practice, though, from what I understand from people that lab this, it only really works on like the suit that you have it equipped onto and like what you're targeting. It's weird. I don't know if I would recommend this kind of part just because it can be a little funky. But at least it says all enemy cooldown, so maybe it does affect everything globally. But the cooldown time up stuff is a little weird. So, anyways, it's okay. Not my first choice of trait at the end of the day, but mileage may vary, whatever your build is. If you're like a complete CDR fiend and you're like, nah, man, you get no cooldown reduction, you just stack tons of parts like that, valid strategy. Dick move, but valid strategy. All right, tags, Gundam type Pro Tag. We already talked about this combo. And statistically, all right, get a little bit of beam resist in there, token amount of shot attack, and just under 4,000 melee attack. We do have a couple of welfare melee weapons that have gone above 4K naturally, but this still sits in that top like 1%, 2% bracket for welfare weapons. So solid. Weapon gun. What are you guys talking about here? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, you guys are just expanding on that. So the G-Self beam rifle. What do we got here? When attacking with beam, very easy to do. There are so many beam weapons in this game. Not even a problem. Shooting power boosted by 30%. Very straightforward. All your shooting stuff, 30% more damage. Cool beans. As long as you're using beam. Easy to do. Cool. Gundam type Ace exclusive. We do get the Ace exclusive tag back, which is nice. You know, it's a beam rifle. Better than Pro Tag. And a workable Gundam type tertiary. Statistically, 38-41 shot attack and some token melee attack on there with a sprinkle of beam resist. Honestly, the shot attack 38-41 again puts in that top like 2%, 3% bracket for welfare beam weapon or rifle weapons, ranged weapons, whatever. Good stuff. Yeah, no real complaints on the numbers here for what it is. Cool. And the shield. Oh boy. Before 20 seconds pass, enemy EX skill damage plus 25%. I've already talked about that. Before 20 seconds pass, this is a little different. If you're a brand new player, this can be very limiting to you because it can be very difficult to end a battle before 20 seconds, meaning this trait buff will wear off before the match actually ends. But once you get up to a certain point, this is kind of irrelevant because your matches are going to take seconds. So, yeah. End of the day, for players that are just starting, this is very powerful at the beginning if you're able to use your EX skills, like a magazine EX skill, because those are like instantaneously usable at the beginning, and you got 11 shots with it anyways. But once you kind of get, you know, if you don't have or if you don't have EX skills that have their cooldowns come off before the first 20 seconds, obviously you're not going to benefit from this. But once you get later on, you're going to see a lot of mileage from this if you don't have anything better, just because 20 seconds, you're going to have all your EX skills up. You're just blasting them, 25% boost. Not the highest that we have available, obviously, but for a welfare part, good number. Not a fan of the 20 seconds pass, but it is still technically usable. Gundam type mid-range, so we say no primary tags on this, just your tertiaries. All right, fine, whatever. Statistically, very interesting. Lots of melee on this. So we're looking at about, what, 1700, 1800, yeah, 1750, 1800 melee attack for a shield, welfare shield. Solid. Shot attack, token amounts kind of here. We have, that's what, like just under 1,000, like 970 something, kind of around there. All right, cool stuff. Overall, the G Self has like a really high stat ceiling. Like there's so many numbers packed on this suit. Really, really good. But yeah, it's interesting. Overall, for new players, powerful welfare, lots of numbers. You can definitely put a little bit of investment into this, get some good returns. But most of the parts will be replaced relatively quickly, as goes with almost every welfare once you get to a certain point. So cool stuff. Now, did anyone answer me about that arena coin suit stuff? I don't see it, but I'll check anyways just to be on the safe side. Right. It should be permanent arena coin. Yes. No, Moon and Versago. Cool. Nothing really to see here. Oh, right. I forgot to buy my platinum coin stuff for this. Cool. Okay. Now, next up, the Gacha. So, again, this is something I go over pretty much every stream, but I'll do it again just to be on the safe side. For this, I am not going to be looking at the suits that have 7-star tune-up available, purely because of the fact 7-star is effectively a manual numbers game. Every suit is safely to be expected stronger than previous 7-star alterations, especially in the limited/Sokai pool to drive people to roll. With that in mind, I don't see a point in looking at the numbers on these suits because they're just going to be bigger numbers than everything else. With that in mind, I will only look at them in the alteration pool to look at their part trait/EX skill and their word tags there. So with that, let's look at our pilot. All right. Sven, the pilot of the Strike Noir. What a lad. 4-star pilot. What do we got? While Ace exclusive, EX skill cooldown reduced by 20%. Very easy to activate, Ace exclusive, and the 20% cooldown reduction. Powerful, not the best modifier we have, but considering how easy it is to activate it, okay. It also helps that his job license, not his word, his job license is, that's mid shooter. So with that in mind, he does get, you will be using Ace exclusive on a suit with him because you want to build into the job license. So you're going to have this. Good stuff. Ace exclusive mid-range tags. Cool beans. Yeah, so Ace exclusive is a primary shot tag. Mid-range is a good tertiary shot tag. Workable for sure. Numerically, all right. Ooh, these numbers are a little interesting. So we're looking at about 875, 900 melee attack. Expected. He's not really a melee pilot. The Strike Noir is definitely more of a close mid-range shooter kind of suit. So that works. And then in the shot attack department, we're looking at 2,500 base, 1835 shot defense, carryover of 600 change. We're looking at 3,100 shot attack after carryover on this sucker. As far as 4-star gacha pilot suits go, those are some very good numbers, especially when you consider almost every pilot that has a higher shot attack value than him after carryover were limited. And that's not talking like build project pilots or anything. There's a few of them that are in the pool that have a higher value than this, but it's very, very few. So good stuff, Sven. You're actually a decent pilot. You got good numbers, you got a good trait, you got good tags. All right. Cool stuff. Okay. Now, we had people going on about the... I've clearly, there we go. Event capsules. Wow, clearly I need another drink. Wow. All right, so we're going to take a look at our event capsules and go from there. What do we got? We got the Sandrock, the GXs, Code Phi, NT1. That's Alex, right? Yeah. Okay. So we have our Sandrock and X's. So we'll start with Sandrock. Now, for a little bit of a history lesson with the Sandrock, you haven't scrolled down enough, excuse me. What else is here? Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, this is gonna suck. Anyways, back to what I was saying. With the Sandrock, a little bit of a history lesson with that. We were supposed to get the Sandrock 2.5 years ago or something like that. So when the Japanese client for this game launched, and even to this day, they have a code entry screen. And the point of the code entry screen was they were supposed to be a collaboration with real-world Gunpla model kits. When you bought the model kit, there would be a code on it you could enter in this game, and it would give you the Gunpla. And the point was to drive more Gunpla sales with it. They abandoned that idea very quickly, and they never released it in any other region than the Japanese client. So I believe there was only ever one mobile suit Gunpla that like actually got the treatment, and that was the Sandrock. Because of that, we kind of got shafted, and we never saw it again. But then at one point, they added it as a welfare suit for, I believe it was the Moon Gundam event, the first run that they had of the Moon Gundam. And man, the community was super hype about that, because it was, oh, you know, that suit that we never got, we finally get it, awesome. And then it just magically disappeared from the banner art, and that was it. And we never heard a peep about it again until now. Yeah. The Sandrock is a very interesting suit when it comes to this game. Anyways, let's take a look at it. We'll start from the top. The Sandrock Endless Waltz version. Start with the head. Now, these are event capsule suits. They do work a little differently than when it comes to welfare and gacha. I'm not going to be terribly harsh on these. I'm just going to look at the numbers. But yeah. Yeah, those were the days of data mining. That's where we'd get like the patch data within like we'd have a content drop on the Tuesday night, Wednesday morning-ish in Japan, and not even like 12-14 hours later, Fiora would go and just dump the next week's suits and everything like right away for us. Those were the days. And then Bandai caught on and was like, okay, it's got to stop. And now we look at current year, and they just post it on Twitter hours before it gets pushed out by Fiora, because they put it on Twitter before they release any data on their internal site. Fun. Don't bother with the new 4-star suits in the pool unless you want to talk about it twice in the alteration as well. You know what? If the 4-star suits are all in alteration, which I see you guys mentioning there, what I'll do is I'll just look at the 3-star suits in here, and then I'll just look at the 4-star stuff in alteration, because that does just make more sense. Anyways, with that in mind, you guys were saying that... which two was it? Clearly I need more. Bear Guy F and Middle Type Gundam. Okay, so we'll start with Bear Guy F then. Okay. Oh, jeez. Thing's terrifying. Alright. Anyways, Bear Guy F. Now, this is Event Capsule. This is a 3-star. Keep that in mind. Please be OP. Ooh, boy. With module category equipped, enemy melee damage plus 40%. Now that is actually a terrifyingly good trait. However, the downside to this, module category equipped. To my recollection, we have exactly one module category weapon that's actually good, and it's a limited part. So, yeah. The enemy melee damage plus 40% is extremely powerful when you consider what this part actually is. And a welfare part. Yeah, I don't know how to break this to you, Mana, but welfare parts don't really match up to limited Zokai parts. You do you, man. You do you. But, ooh. The Tonfas. Okay, sorry. So there's 3 parts in the game that are good for this, and one of them is limited, one of them is a welfare, and the other's the Tonfas. I hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from when I look at this and go, on paper looks really good, but in practice, ooh boy. Anyways, the enemy melee damage plus 40% is very powerful. The highest modifier that we typically have seen for this is 50%, but considering this is a 3-star suit, this is very powerful. But, you know, the module category equipped does kind of... Oh, excuse me. It does kind of put a damper on this. It is usable. Absolutely. Very powerful trait. You just have to meet the criteria to actually, leverage it. Do keep in mind, however, as this is a 3-star event capsule suit that does not have an alteration, this will be the only trait for the foreseeable future for this part. Whereas there are other parts available where it's like pro tag, you get your melee damage plus 35, 40% or whatever, and then it has a second trait that also does more. So for what this is, a 3-star part, this is a very powerful modifier. In actuality, very limiting, but if you make it work for a 3-star part, yeah, it's good. It'll make a fun meme build if nothing else. Yeah, sure. You're not wrong. All right. Tags, close combat for computers. I do not like the 4-line of tags. I don't think they really do as much as they could. I think they could be much better implemented. It does not help. We lack the ability to select the stage that we are battling on, meaning, at least in most content, meaning you will not be able to leverage the full power of this word tag unless you are very lucky with what stage is selected for combat, or you're playing one of the few bits of content where you can actually select the map you're fighting on. Can you use the 4-line of tags? Absolutely. Don't let me stop you from doing anything. It is a 3% boost to every single number on the board. I just think that we should have a more player-controlled way to activate the 5%. For computers also isn't that bad inherently compared to some of the other 4-line of tags because it does activate some very powerful traits. So there is that. But close combat, that's a powerful tertiary, very common to see on melee builds due to its availability on so many core parts. So, okay. Statistically, it's pretty much what we would expect from a 3-star part. It does have a significant chunk of melee on it, sitting at, 1350, 1400 or so melee attack. That's some really good numbers going on there. Actually, more like 1450, 1500. And then for shot attack, again, as it is more of a melee-centric suit, the shot numbers are a lot lower on this, sitting more like 2k. Definitely melee-oriented. Overall, for a 3-star part, this is a very interesting piece. It's got a good amount of melee attack for what it is. Its part trait, again, for what this is very powerful and has workable tags. Good news, you don't need to run it on your main build since weapon checks look at the skin. Yes, this is also a true point that Mana brings up. If you're someone that leverages custom skins, when it has a requirement like you need to have a specific ranged weapon, melee weapon, whatever, you can actually rely on the custom skin. The way that custom skins work is it actually ignores the base frame of your suit and uses those purely for the numbers and the traits and the tags. The skin will dictate what animations you use, what your suit looks like, and all of those things. So, if you're running a beam rifle with a beam saber, but your custom skin is using a submachine gun and a whip type weapon, you'll be using the SMG and the whip type, and that's what traits will activate for your suit. This can be very convenient in situations like this, where you have a module weapon that may statistically not be or statistically might be amazing, but let's say you don't like using module, you'd rather use a blade, you know, the big claymore style things. You can absolutely do that, but yeah, at the same time, kind of flipping it around here, that would work if this is blade. Sorry, again, I'm on the sauce, don't mind me. With this module category, at the suit level, you could equip whatever part you wanted in the melee slot. You could equip a blade, a beam saber, a whip type, whatever. As long as your custom skin has a module in the weapon slot, this would activate. And due to that flexibility, you can overcome needing a powerful module weapon by just having a module weapon. But again, because of the very limited amount of module weapons that are in the game, that might be difficult. I believe there's one that we can just outright craft with can't remember the word. Anyways, I'm almost 100% sure we can craft a 1-star tier rarity module weapon, so you can just kind of activate this off of the rip. But yeah. Custom skin, some people are still kind of hesitant with, which is kind of in scraps. Yes, that's it. Clearly, I need more. Martial, yeah. Anyways. Neat part. Very powerful trait if you can use it. The numbers are what you'd expect from a 3-star, definitely skewed towards melee. Tags are workable. Let's keep going, because we got a lot of parts to look over today. Bear guy torso with integrated legs. When C power is over 100,000, which very easy to do. Once you kind of start establishing your suit, 100,000 is going to be a rounding error for you. We got people with millions of C power now. C power doesn't even really matter. It doesn't properly reflect what your suit does damage-wise. It's a very pretty number that means nothing, effectively. Squad funnel time will get boosted by 40% with this. Now, I've talked about funnels in the past. You guys all know what I've talked about with funnels about in the past, but because this is a stream and I don't know if there are new people watching this, I'm just going to play it safe. Long and short, the biggest issue that we currently have with funnels will not be solved by increasing how long the funnels are out. Melee funnels are exempt. Melee funnels work perfectly fine. They hit like trucks. They're very powerful. That means your physical melee funnels, your beam melee funnels, whatever. But when it comes to shot funnels, the biggest issue with them is the damage output is heavily reliant on how many funnels or bits, whatever, you actually shoot out. They release their shots on a timer. It's the same timer no matter how many funnels you have out. And because of that, the more funnels you have out, the more damage you're going to do. The less funnels you shoot out, the less damage you're going to do. You could make the argument, well, if I have, like 6 funnels, this makes it more like I have like 10 funnels. Okay, you know what? Let's pretend that my math is correct, which it's not, but irregardless. To do the same damage as a suit that has more funnels than you're increasing the duration that your EX skill has to be active by 40%. On the flip side, you could just run a skill that does all of your damage in 1 or 2 hits, takes a tenth of the time, if not less, and it's not reliant on how many funnels or bits you shoot out. That's kind of the biggest issue with the funnels, is it just doesn't work on most of the parts that use beam funnels because they just don't have enough. And any kind of, we're going to increase the funnel uptime or whatever. On paper, sounds good, but in practice, you're just saying, instead of doing X damage in this block, I'm doing X damage in this block instead. Like, look at all the time I have to spend to do the same amount of damage. What? So, yeah. Anyways, it's not really my cup of tea, honestly. But as it is squad funnel time plus 40%, you could put this onto one of your support suits, not your primary suit, and benefit from the funnel uptime. It would work very well on a melee funnel like the Moon Gundam backpack, which very recently got itself an alteration to become even stronger. But yeah, again, the easiest way to put it, instead of doing 1,000 damage in a very small time slot, you're doing 1,000 damage in a much larger time slot, 40% larger, right? It just doesn't make sense to run that when you could be doing something that does this amount of damage in like this amount of time. Again, power to you. Do whatever you want with your build. If you want to run funnels that last for a minute and a half, go for it, my guy. Like, whatever works for you. It's just not ideal. Okay. Close combat, amphibious. Okay. Ooh, that's a lot to unpack. So, close combat. Again, powerful tertiary tag. It's on so many parts. I don't think you could. You probably get a good count of them, but there's so many I can't off the top of my head even give you a ballpark number. 1,000 plus, 1,500, 2,000. I don't know. Too many. Amphibious is a little worse than that. It's much worse. So the problem with amphibious is it's available on very, very few parts in the game. To double up on that, it's available on very few parts that are anywhere near considered decent in this game. By using parts that have amphibious, you're effectively actively gimping your stat pool, for what that's worth. Beyond that, amphibious is boosting your melee attack by 5%, so you're probably not going to run this on a shot suit to begin with, mostly on your melee. But when you look at melee suits, there's much better choices for your tertiary tag. Amphibious only activates, I believe, 2 to 3 good traits, and those are on parts that are kind of... Yeah, amphibious is a weird tag, man. It's a weird tag. Close combat, good. Amphibious. Well. Also, you guys may have noticed for the stat numbers on this, they look really, really big. It's because it's an integrated part. They effectively are combining the stat pools of 2 parts. There's positive and negatives to integrated parts. Obvious positive, big, fat numbers. Many big number, many wow, much, oh yeah. However, the downside is, as it's an integrated part, you are losing out on a full slot of part traits. And that can be a big deal once you get up to kind of higher brackets, because 2 traits can be like 100% damage boost. That's a big number to throw out the window when you're using an integrated part. Early on, these are really, really good because you get to invest in one part and get the output of 2 parts and a little bit of change. And that means you only have to use about half of the resources to get the same boon. As a new player, that's very, very good. But once you get up to a certain point, you probably want to stray kind of away from these outside of your custom skin, just for the numbers, the traits, and everything else. Yeah. How does it feel to talk about a bear guy for so long? Thanks, I hate it. All right, let's move on to the next part, which is the arms. Arm-mounted Mega Particle Cannon. A- Pierce, D Power, 11 magazine. Look, they made this part very easy for me. Although it may be a magazine skill, it has D Power, meaning I'm not even going to look at it. It's garbage. Close combat for computer tags. I've already talked about this combination, so we'll move right along to the numbers, as this is a non-integrated part, so that's actually a good representation of the numbers here. Melee attack, we're looking at about, 3,200 or so. For melee arms, 3-star melee arms, that's actually not too bad. It does fall short of a lot of the welfare suits that we've recently seen, however. For shot attack, that's even more token, that's like 750 or something like that. Statistically, this part really doesn't do any real wows. The EX skill on it is honestly just not great. And the tags are workable. Yeah. And backpack. I'm definitely not speeding this up because you pointed out how long I was talking about a bear guy for. I swear, Z's, you can trust me. Would I ever lie to you? Would somebody do that? Go on the internet and tell lies? All right, the bear guy backpack, also known as the tiny little bear guy girl thing. I don't know. It has a bow. I'm confused. Chair striker. Have the petite bear guy on your back call its friends. You can move all this as active. So this sounds like a sort of funnel skill. However, it has D power. Moving right along. Okay. Wow. Those are some interesting numbers. That's better. So 1400 melee attack, carry over to chain 1650 or so melee attack. For a backpack, good numbers on that. For shot attack, token, we're looking like 630, 650, 660, kind of around there. Okay. Definitely more of a melee-centric part here, but with that really not great EX skill. Close combat. Ooh, support type. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, support type is a shot attack booster. Close combat is a melee attack booster. Very weird when you consider this part is definitely more melee than it is shot. Interesting tags. I'm not a big fan of support type. Doesn't really activate a lot of traits either, so... I have this kit. It's a mother and child. Okay. Interesting. All right. Next up is the Gundam Middleton. How many parts does this have? Okay, starting with the head. So middle type, head. Ranged weapons EX skill power boosted by 40%. So this obviously requires you to have a ranged weapon, such as your beam rifle, that slot, that has an EX skill. And then we have some examples, last shooting. That's all that comes to mind. Anyways, I'm kind of on the fence about this. First, it's a 3-star part, meaning there are going to be a lot of limitations to what its trait can do. 40% normally would be a very high boost for a 3-star part. However, the requirement is ranged weapon only. The trade-off with that, obviously, is you're only able to boost a single EX skill on your entire suit. And the biggest issue I have with that, for one, you need to have a ranged weapon with an EX skill. If you don't, this trait is actually worthless. And two, the reason it has the higher modifier, because typically we'd expect it to see 30%, is that restriction on there. Is it bad? No, it's actually rather powerful. 40% boost to an EX skill is really solid. However, the ranged weapon part kind of Overall, though, okay. For what it is, acceptable. Federation 4 base tags. Alright, I've already talked about the 4 line of tags. I won't do it again. Federation, that's a nice tertiary tag. You get your melee attack boost, your shot attack boost. Cool. It's not available really widely, but it is available on a good handful of parts. So there's at least that going for it. Cool stuff. Numerically, what are we looking at here? We're looking at about 3950-ish or so shot attack. That's really good for a 3-star part. Cool beans. If only it was a welfare, that would be excellent. Because, welfares are very easy to get enough copies to max out. Event capsule parts, not so much. It's not impossible to do. It just takes a lot more effort and a little bit of the help of the RNG. So, with that in mind, definitely workable in terms of numbers. I wish it was above 4K though, but you know what? 3900, sure, man, whatever. That jives. That tracks. Melee attack, we're looking at 652 here base. Carryover is significant though. Kind of carries up to that's like 1300 or so, kind of around there. Honestly, all right. We got some good melee numbers on here, some really good shot attack numbers on here. The trait, definitely nice. Tags, workable. And 4 base does activate some traits, so it's not terrible. It's not amazing, but you gotta roll with the punches sometimes. Rolling Buster Rifle. Yep, that's definitely one of the other parts. You are right. That is definitely another ranged weapon EX skill that's very, very good. Federation can boost if in the same stage of Federation. That's a plus, right? Oh, sorry, Kevin. I don't know if it's the green juice talking or something else, but I cannot parse that sentence. And I don't know why. Torso. When physical damage taken, enemy shooting power reduced by 35%. So, the issue with this, right? So, physical damage taken. One could make the argument you have a 50% chance of being hit with physical, because you could also be hit with beam. One or the other. 50-50. When you think about it in the grand scheme of things, most weapons are beam. At least the ones that are more widely used outside of the IBO stuff. So with that in mind, on paper, although it's an equal chance, in practice, you're most likely more to get hit with beam than physical, barring EX skills, obviously. On top of that, enemy shooting power reduced by 35%. Does nothing for melee. So if you're hit with a melee skill or physical melee damage, this is worthless. If you're hit with shooting damage and it's not physical, this is useless. The only time that this actually kicks really into play and has value is if you're hit with a physical shot. I'm not saying those are very rare, because they're not. They're quite common. But considering there's 4 different types of damage you can take, and this really only clicks in with one of them, 25%'s not really a good number when you think about it. Xant, have you made the devs mad lately? I don't know. Maybe? If I have, no one said anything to me about it. Federation, 4 base tags. Alright, talked about that combo before. Statistically, we're looking at about 1600 melee attack. We're looking at about 1870 or so shot attack. For a torso, those are very, very high numbers. No real complaints to be had here. Cool beans. Overall, outside of the trait, workable torso. But that trait's kinda... yeah. Arms. Hey Nick, if you're watching, let me know, man. Let me know. Let me know what you think about the parts. What if we in Defender type was a take less damage? So, that's kind of an interesting point to make. I do kind of have an issue with job licenses purely in that we have the job gauge that does some interesting stuff, but I think it'd be way better and more integrated into like being very, very useful and like game changing. I don't know about like, as it is, when you are a defender type, you get way more armor to begin with. So I don't know if giving more armor and increasing the defense, like you take less damage flat, it's kind of a good idea. You already have a super shield, so I don't know. That just seems a little much for the defender. Do you love having a gacha in your combat scenarios? Yeah, that's pretty much what it feels like sometimes, looking at a trait like that, where it's like, oh yeah, you got to meet all these criteria for a 25% reduction. It's like, look, if you said it was 150% damage reduction when you met those criteria, man, I am in for a penny, in for a pound on that. That actually makes it worth the gamble. But like, you have a 25% chance to take 25% less damage, or whatever that small number was, like, woohoo! All right, back to this. I do want to get this done before, like 3 a.m. That'd be the dream, I think, at this point. All right, Gundam, the middle type, arms. While for base, EX skill cooldown reduced by 20%. So, for base, I've already talked about the demerits of the 4 line of tags. For base does have a few things that it activates that are pretty good, this now being another one of them. And you get an EX skill cooldown reduction of 20%. On paper, again, this looks really solid. 4 base gives you a 3% boost to all of your parameters. While it's active, you get 20% EX skill cooldown reduction. Sounds pretty great. Problem is, again, this is a single trait, not a double trait parts. You're already going to be whiffing on one trait. On the second, all parameters plus 3%. When you think about it at a mathematical value here, you have, let's say, 3% melee attack up and 3% melee defense up. When you look at a carryover, you're moving over, let's say you're one of the standard players, you're moving like 30% over or whatever. Your 30% of that 3% is 1%. Roughly 1.6 or whatever the actual, it's like 33%, 1.6. What? Anyways, you're looking at effectively the argument of like 4% versus 5% for your shot attack, plus 5% melee attack, 5% for your tags. And when you're worrying about min-maxing, that can be kind of a big deal. Overall, in a vacuum, this is not a bad trait, but in the grand scheme of things, nah. All right. Statistically, 3,800 melee attack, 1950 or so shot attack. For a pair of arms, that's some very high shot attack. That's some very healthy melee attack as well. No real complaints numerically. Federation 4 base tags, both workable. Honestly, I think the downside to this part primarily lies in the trait. But outside of that, pretty solid. Legs, and then we get on to the backpack and the 101 accessories for this dang thing. All right, middle type Gundam leg with speed attribute, non-EX skill power boosted by 70%. So speed attribute, that means you have 5 parts or more on your suit that are of speed attribute, this being one of them. With that, your non-EX skill power boosted by 70%. What this means is anything you do that is not an EX skill has a 70% boost. This refers to primarily your neutral attacks. With that in mind, that means your just casual press the shoot button, press the melee button, whatever, is going to be doing 70% more. Early on, this will be really good, as a lot of players are going to be using primarily their neutrals to do their damage, as they don't have CDR builds and they have to wait. Once you get to kind of mid-ish late game, you're going to be switching over to primarily EX skills, where that is your bread and butter, whether it's a magazine, a pocket rocket skill that has an ultra low cooldown of less than 20 seconds, and you've reduced it down to 2, so you can just spam it, whatever. So this is definitely a early game trait that'll be very powerful, as 70% is nothing to sneeze at. However, it will fall off. That's a good skill for skill hack mode. That's also very true. In case you're not aware, skill hack is a arena modifier where skills do, I think it's 90-something% less damage. So this would definitely help you in that mode, as that is where neutrals begin to shine. Or you have such a ridiculously high modifier value on your damage that the skill hack reduction really just doesn't do anything. Yeah. Anyways. Federation Gundam type tags, workable tertiaries, and then numerically about 1500 melee attack. We're looking at about 1850, 1900 shot attack. Yeah, okay. The numbers, again, good. I have no real complaints on the numbers here. The trait is usable in a couple of niche scenarios and good early game, and the traits are workable. No clue for non-EX skill. I thought it made good, but it's a bad idea. The highest other over 6 million might kill us in an instant. So, when it comes to PvP content, the current meta, so to speak, is excessive cooldown reduction and boosting the power of your EX skills. And the entire point is he who EXs first and catches the enemy is effectively the winner. And the entire point is you just get the other guy before he can get you. Whether that's through rolling Buster, just steamrolling the other guys, or colony drop, or whatever your EX skill of choice for this kind of stuff is. So your non-EX skill damage is really just, it's irrelevant. In skill hack, however, those skills probably aren't really going to do much. So neutrals become a very big deal. And that's what kind of was being talked about there. If you're playing at anything other than like decently high level in terms of like arena content, don't worry about it, man. Whether you use neutrals or EX skills or not, just aim to win. All right, so let's see here. We looked at the backpack. Let's take a look at our beam saber. Yay. Cooldown time up 10%. So what this means is all of your cooldowns will take 10% longer. Shooting crit rate boosted by 40% is the trade-off. Unfortunately, crit rate is still not good. Don't really know how else to describe it. With that in mind, moving right along. Statistically, we're looking at about 3,800 or so melee attack and 682 shot attack, as there is 0 defense to carry over. Alright, cool. Good amount of melee attack, token amount of shot attack, a little more than token, I guess. But that melee attack is something I would expect to see in a welfare weapon, not an event capsule weapon. It's okay though, for a 3-star part. Definitely sits up there. Federation Gundam type workable tertiaries. Oh boy. Alright, beam rifle. We're almost done the middle. Last shooting, origin. A plus pierce, B power. Now, before I look at anything else, literally A plus pierce, B power, that's going to hit very hard. You're ignoring a significant portion of the enemy's defense and resistance values, and the B power helps it pack a decent punch. Now onto the text. Recover 48% of your maximum armor, so that's almost a half HP bar heal, and you raise the shot attack of your squad by 29%. I don't really know what to say about this besides this is actually really, really cool. The heal is very powerful. 50% heal on a 3-star part. Dang, son. On top of that, a 29% shot attack boost is actually a lot higher than I would expect. Typically, when we see a 50% heal added on to a EX skill, the actual buff traits get nerfed and typically eat about a 10% reduction. I was actually fully expecting to see a 19% shot attack boost on here, but 29% shot attack boost for your entire squad on top of a 48% heal for a 3-star bindable part, that is solid. Federation Gundam type tags, workable. And then for stats, we're looking at about 200 melee attack and 42 shot attack with no carryover from defense. That is a very high shot attack value for a 3-star part. That definitely is like top 1%er for 3-star, like no questions asked. Awesome. Good EX skill, very powerful numbers behind it, workable tertiary word tags, and very, very good offensive shot value. Good beam rifle. Hyper bazooka, let it be known, I still do not like bazookas. Alright. Melee attack down 10%, so this literally just means all of your melee damage is going to be 10% less. Well, like your melee attack is going to be 10% less. That may actually result in more. Anyways, your melee attack is down 10%, and the job gauge of your squad is boosted by 17%, well, rate of gather. As I've mentioned, I think the job gauge can definitely use a little more work. I think it can be a lot better than its current implementation. With that in mind, I don't see this as a benefit. I see this kind of as a moot point, meaning there's really no point in this at all. Your mileage may vary. Perhaps you love your job license and what it does. You have job gauge boosts. Power to you. Again, do not let me tell you how to play this game. You play it however you damn well please. It's very flexible in its current phase. With that in mind, I don't like the job gauge, but you are free to use it however you want. It can do some great things. I just think it can do better. Alteration 4 base tags, cool beans, and effectively the same statistical values as the beam rifle. However, I think the beam rifle is just kind of superior overall. It comes with a better EX skill. It comes with a better animation in its general attack pool. Sorry, bazooka. No. And lastly, the middle type shield. Okay. While Federation buff EX skill effect up 22%. Do keep in mind this game uses flat addition when it comes to buffs and debuffs. If you have, for example, your shot attack plus 29% and you had this buff EX skill effect up 22%, that is actually just 29 plus 22, and you're sitting at, that's a 51%. It's just flat addition. That's how the game works. Meaning 22% is a significant number to see. Federation is a good tertiary take, like I said, relatively accessible for what it is. Excuse me. As Federation boosts both shot and melee, means you can run it on either type of build. And as buff EX skill effect up is again, kind of a neutral term, it means you can run this on either type. And it's a shield too. I don't think I would run this personally though. I think there's better shields available, but for kind of if you get it and you don't have anything better, it works for sure. Statistically, we're looking at about 1400 melee attack or so, and then for shot we're looking at like 1600-ish, 1560, 1580, around there. Numerically, good stuff. Tags, workable. Trait, okay. Not really wowed. Okay part. All right. So, with all of that done, now for the true hell on earth, also known as alterations. However, before we hop into alterations, we will be taking a look at the Twitter videos to take a look at these animations that are going to make me regret every choice in life that has led up to this point. Now, I did notice that some people were talking about how the Akatsuki, the two of them that we had, were previously added into the game. So with that in mind, I will just be looking at the alterations for them. And just like everything else, I won't be looking at the numbers, just the part trait / EX skill and potentially tags, depending on, viability and whatnot. Anyways, let me just refresh Twitter here real quick. And let's get these videos going. Oh, you hooked in on your own. I'm so proud of you. Okay, so that's our turn A. That's our unicorn. Is that it? You're not going to have anything else? No, why would you have anything else? That'd be too convenient, wouldn't it? Just too convenient. All right. Let's take a look at our turn A. Big. Okay. Okay. Interesting. And it's a counter. Like, I don't even know if any of those animations are new. Maybe the counter is like the only really new one, but like, none of that really stuck out to me. Like, it's on point for the suit. It's got the ball and chain. It's got the gun. Just so weird. Yeah, that grenade looks new. That grenade definitely does look new, and it looks like it's a pretty powerful AoE as well. I'm actually kind of interested in seeing the numbers on it. And then we have a counter, so... Oh, okay. Okay. And lastly, our other new suit that we get videos for is the unicorn. It has an awakening. Okay, I did not like the animation on that. I didn't like the animation on that either. That just didn't really feel nice to watch. So, like, my big issue with this Awakening animation, like, it just looks weird. Doesn't help that, you know, kind of got a little bit of a dong here, but, like, that's just weird. Will these reprints ever end? Look, even if they did, I couldn't tell you. You know how it goes. Alright. Anyways, I don't like the animation for that. And for this one, yeah. Not a big fan of either of these animations, but at the same time, I've never really been a big fan of the unicorn to begin with, so... Anyways, so let's see, somebody here mentioned the Shiranui altar is new. Owashi had an altar a long time ago. Cool. So what's new on the list? The Victory Gundam, the Shiranui, Unicorn, and Turn A, right? Just those four? Or is there more that I'm missing here? While I wait for you guys to answer, I'm going to prep the new juice. Start from the Sandrock upwards. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. Let's get cracking. Oh, yeah, that's a good choice, actually. It's like cold in this room because, so the floorboards in this room are miserable at keeping heat. Like, we are talking, these floorboards are cold enough that if I took a can of pop and put it on my floorboard here, just like side down, I could come back in the morning and it would have like little bits of ice in it. That is how cold the floorboards get in this room in the winter. With that in mind, I gotta sit on this chair and have my feet near the floor. It's cold. I'm cold. This warm. Very warm. It's the liquor, not the room. No, the liquor doesn't make me cold. The liquor makes me toasty. The room is cold. I've actually come down here in the morning and then in the past, back when we had, I think it was like negative 22 out or something, and I could actually see my breath in this room. Maybe you guys, I've talked about it before, but this little device right here is like a space heater for this room. It is a champion. Ever since I got it in here, this room has been very warm and livable, but there are still days where it is very cold, and I have to manually turn that on because somehow it goes, you want this room at 23 degrees Celsius. Cool. I can't help but notice it's -5. I'm not going to turn on. Okay. Anyways, okay. Let's start with the Sandrock now. Alterations. I know I mentioned this prior, but I will do it again. I am not going to be looking at the stat values for these suits. It is very safe to assume that between having the base suit and the alteration, there's going to be a stat increase of a significant amount. We have less than 5 examples in this game where the stats have drastically differed between alteration, before and after. With that in mind, though, make sure that before you alternate a part, it is exactly what you want at the end of it, and the stats are changed in a way you like, because there is no way to undo the alteration. With that in mind, I'm going to be looking at this, the traits, the EX skills, and the tags, as I haven't seen these suits before. Most of them anyways, and we'll go from there. I'm shocked no Xmas Capsule this year. So, okay. I don't want to talk about another game during the stream, but I'm going to do it anyways. So, it's really, really weird to me seeing Fate Grand Order decide near the end of November no new characters are going to be added to the gacha until the new year. I see this game going, yeah, we're, no new suits until X time or whatever, and they very sparsely line it out. I'm really confused by that. Like, don't get me wrong, okay? The whole reruns, the alter tributes are really cool in this game to flesh out the attribute link feature, because don't forget, right? Attribute link is a thing. The more suits you have that are the same but different attributes, the higher the overall stat pool is going to be for them as they kind of, resonate with each other. And I think that's a neat feature. It wasn't really ever fleshed out or explored previous to now. And over the last few months, where we've got a ton of alternate attribute reruns, we've been able to kind of see what it does. Flip side, though, I personally, as a player, would be very happy to see new suits added alongside these reruns. Because as cool as it is to be able to see a feature that up until this point has been mostly ignored, finally fleshed out and built on top of, I like seeing new suits. I like that adrenaline rush, like, oh yeah, something new. Right? Like, I was really hoping we'd see a really dope Christmas capsule that had something similar to the Wing Gundam's Wing Colony, right? A really cool cutscene or whatever. I hope, my fingers are crossed, that for New Year's we get something flashy and big to make up for kind of all the hiccups we've had up until this point. I don't want to be super negative and say don't hold your breath, but at the same time, we have kind of gone how many months now seeing the overwhelming majority of new content being alternate attribute rerun banners and stuff. So I'm hopeful, but I'm measured hopeful. It's like, if we get something new, yeah, boy. If we don't, kind of expected. And as far as some people may go, like, oh, end of service soon, whatever. I haven't heard about end of service. That's all I'm going to say about this topic. And I feel like if I had heard about it, I would know about it, and I would find some way to inform you guys, because that's only fair. But as I haven't heard a single peep, just give you all the answer you need. It just seems they're kind of in a lull. Don't forget as well, right now, I'm sorry, not right now, but for the last handful of months, we had Battle Alliance. We had a ton of new stuff for Battle Operation 2, and I'm still hoping we got that recent announcement of like there's another Steam beta test coming up. We have Eternal. There's a lot of Gundam stuff that's kind of coming near release and out soon. It wouldn't be terribly surprising to find out that a lot of this stuff had been finalized like last year, and they just moved a bunch of dev guys to finalize these other games and just kind of ran out of new content to push out. That's being very hopeful. Call me a shill if you will, whatever. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of what makes sense. Tons of new Gundam IPs and content have been coming out, Evolution, all these other games. There's only so many developers that Bandai Namco kind of has on tap to put into these games. It would make sense that they had a stockpile and they moved all the devs over to the new content and they slowly ate through the stockpile and they just kind of ran out and these devs never came back. Anyways, let's look at these alterations. I don't know if we have enough space on our virtual desks for new features in GBM. Hey, you know what? I still remember way back, like in the first couple of months of this game launching, I was saying, you know what? I would love to see a customizable Haro on the desk. Like, we're talking, let us have that blue mustached Haro that Lacus like drew the mustache on during that scene in Gundam Seed, right? Give us these custom iconic Haros, right? Give us the bigger, bulkier Haros from other content, right? Like, that alone would be really cool, giving us those kind of collectibles. Let us have different room themes, because, like, don't get me wrong, the room's kind of grown on me, but it'd also be cool to be able to reskin it with other basic tile sets or themes, you know? Maybe give us special stuff outside the window instead of just day-night. Maybe give us, like, festival fireworks outside, or, you know, Halloween balloons or something, right? Some flavor. There's lots of room to add stuff to the GBM home screen, but it's less a flat adding things and more giving us the ability to tweak things. Won't be EOS until we get the Persona 5 collab. Oh no. People working on Google Stadia also never heard of EOS until Google announced EOS. Google, I think, is a different case altogether. They have a history of making projects and killing them with zero warning, even after tons of marketing have been put into it. I'm not saying Bandai hasn't done that in the past, because I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really read up on it. But simultaneously, Google is known for killing their projects. Let's be real here. Alright. I would have liked Nina's evil horror from 00. Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Personally, I love collectibles in my games. I find it's a very good reason to keep playing, especially when they hide these collectibles behind very specific tasks that might be difficult. For example, not to toot my own horn, but in Grand Blue Fantasy, I am very, very, very close to having my blue skin. I only need 3 more items in the exchange, and I'm done it. To me, that's a collectible. It's something completely optional. No one in their right mind would ever expect you to do the grind to get the blue skin. No, there is very few people that will look at you and go, you need to do it. And the ones that do are crazy. Don't listen to them. But I like it. It's a collectible. I went out of my way to farm it, grind it, get all these things together, and make it. And to me, it's like, yeah, I'm dumb. Let's go. And those are the kind of things I enjoy. Right? If they had it in this, and they're like, you need to be rank top 100 in arena for like a week to get this custom Haro skin, I probably wouldn't do it. But I can see a lot of people getting it and using it to flex when they take a photo of their home screen with their, their Gunpla on display. It's just that extra little bit of like, look what I've accomplished playing this game. And that's the way I told them, like, to a lot of players, that can mean a lot. Right? Like our profiles. Back when we started getting titles given to us for our profiles, people were very quick to update their profile with the newest, shiniest title that they had, because it showed that they had accomplished something. Right? That's like a big drive. But right now, we've gone so long without really any way to show off our accomplishments besides screenshotting it and putting it on like social media. Yeah. Hey, Delta. Nice, not horn tooting. Hey, man, you know what? Honestly, at the end of the day, when I get it, I'm going to be making a post on Twitter about it because it's a big deal to me. And anyone that understands the grind involved with it will just kind of pat me on the back and go, I'm so sorry for your loss. That's exactly what it is. All right, let's focus. Sandrock. Let's get some content done here. All right, the Gundam Sandrock Endless Waltz head-mounted Vulcan, D- D power. Ignore it, don't look at it, disgusting, just horse blinder. Commander for Desert. Commander is a nice word tag for shot machines. It's one of your core 2. With for Desert, I've already talked about the 4 line of tags, I'm not going to do it again. Meh. I don't like this very much. The EX skill, why do you do this? Why do you keep doing this? But at the same time, I would still want this part for collection purposes, as it's one of those not rare suits anymore, as it's now available in the event capsule, but kind of just like a historic footnote of like, I remember you. I hate you. I flexed that first Battle Circuit title so hard when it first came out. Yeah, exactly. Right? One of the big... Okay. My personal drive, and I know some of you guys know this, but my personal drive when I'm playing mobile games is being able to experience the social aspect of it. Right? Neural Cloud. I love talking with the guys I know that play it, showing off our progress, our comps, just shooting the shit about the game. Why would you do that? That's stupid. And then you got this one guy kicks down the door and goes, oh, I use Betty on everything. And you're just like, why? Like, it works, but why? Right? Like, it's the social aspect of it. Right? I look at Fate Grand Order. So many people I know play it, and a lot of it is just, again, shooting the shit. Like, oh, you didn't beat that boss in 3 turns? Yeah, good, scrub. Right? Like, oh, you didn't, single ticket the new SSR? Sounds like a skill issue. Right? You're shooting the shit with people. But with GBM, there's really no way to do that anymore, because it's all become very set in its ways. I don't want to say stagnant because there is still some mix-ups happening with the new parts that are added in and kind of the min-max stuff going on. But a lot of the avenues that we've had in the past have gotten very stale, and the newer paths that come out are very rare, like very few. Hey, Sukiya. I got my Saber Bukin FGO Global. Hey, man, you know what? I gotta say, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. Holy shit, do I ever love getting boss characters in my gacha games. Whenever a boss character is obtainable, you will see me there with my credit card going, take my money. And I'm just going for it, right? Kiara, Saber Ibuki, now with JP's ORT when she becomes available. I'm just sitting here slapping my credit card on my phone, like, why am I not getting more currency, right? So, anyways, back to this. Let's take a look at the Sandrock torso. Self-destruct. Wow, why am I not surprised? D Pierce, A+ power, low cooldown, take 90% damage to max armor. In other words, if you have 10% or if you have taken 10% or more damage, you're dead using this. It hits like a truck. It's not worth it. Unless you're using like a really big meme build. Commander Gundam type, good combo of tags. Certified Wing Classic. Yeah. For better or for worse. Yeah. Alright. Arms. Infighter job. Very easy to get. Like, infighters, dime a dozen. Not even a problem. Revive with 50% armor one time. Now, that is a problem. I'm not a big fan of that. I find that these gut style skills are, oh, you died, you revive. It doesn't sound bad at first glance, but because of the way that the game is played, if you are dying, you should try to approach the content differently than trying to brute force it with extra lives. Granted, you may need an extra life because the enemy has a 0-second cooldown skill that instantly kills you, but again, you should probably think of a different approach than revive with, half of your HP once, because it probably won't save you from the second time, as, it only works once. With Twin Blade category equipped, not terribly rare anymore. We have a lot of good Twin Blades available. And again, remember, custom skin, even if you don't have a good one, you can still take any Twin Blade, put in your custom skin to get this active. All power boosted by 40%. That is a very healthy second trait. 40% is a very high modifier, very powerful. No complaints about that, actually. The first trait, though, does make me kind of but at the same time, this is a base 4-star suit from the event capsules. This is not a limited, this is not a Sokai. I should look at this as a base gacha suit, and with that in mind, a 40% all power boost is really good. You can self-destruct twice. You can self-destruct once, and then kill yourself the second time. I don't think that's worth it, but then again, I also don't use self-destruct. Commander Gundam type. Okay, workable tags. Let's check out the legs. When attacking with physical. Now, this is easy. We got tons of physical. Whether it's in shot, whether it's in melee. We got physical, no problem. Enemy EX skill damage plus 35%. So they're taking 35% extra skill damage as long as you're using physical. Off the top of my head, we got bisect. Nice. Lots of other ones as well. No real problem with this. You got your options. Okay. While for desert, enemy melee damage plus 50%. Unfortunately, again, this relies on a 4 tag for desert specifically. I'm not a big fan of the 4 line of tags. For desert is also not that great. I believe this is one of the 2 decent traits that it activates versus any other myriad number of tags in the game that activate way more traits. Granted, this is still a very powerful one, 50% melee damage boost. That is solid, especially when you pair it with the EX skill damage plus 35% with physical. So if you're for desert using physical weapons and EX skills, this is a boon for you. However, the downside is you do need the for desert tag, meaning if you're not in a desert map, you're going to be getting limited use out of the word tag versus if you were on a desert map. And you really only have these 2 traits that require for desert. I'm not saying that that's, not something you can work around, because it absolutely is. It just is going to be a little harder. Commander 4 desert tags. I'm not surprised the 4 desert tags on there, all things considered. Backpack, Shotel Slash, D-Pierce a power low cooldown. And this is using your heat shotels to cut enemies directly in front of you in half. Now, the verbiage on this makes me feel like it has a very small area of effect in front of you. So this will require you to gap close and get right in front of your enemy, and then use the EX skill. It relies on your enemy not moving and staying in front of you while not interrupting you. With all of that in mind, on paper, purely looking at the pierce and power and cooldown, this is a very powerful little skill to have in your pocket. In practice, due to the high chance of whiffing it, due to the high chance of the enemy interrupting, dodging, all these other things, no. Mileage may vary. Use it if you like the suit or you like the animation to it. Power to you. Again, don't let me tell you how to play the game. Just from a personal level looking at this, there's much better available. Commander Gundam type tags. Okay. Take a look at the shotels themselves. Yeah, got those look nice. All right. When in desert category, so keep in mind, desert category maps, that's what activates the 4 desert tag, giving you the full 5% boost to all of your parameters, which is very powerful. However, we, in most content, do not have the ability to pick the type of map that we are playing on, meaning the chance of you getting a 4 desert tag, category I should say, is relatively low. On top of that, the little bit of content that you can pick it in, right, is it really worth it? Let's look. Enemy EX skill damage plus 50%. That is a very big boost. Honestly, 50%. If you're able to pick a desert map, and you have these on hand, that's really good. While Commander, initial EX skill charge boosted by 20%. Now, this is a little interesting, right? So, on a melee weapon, we have While Commander. Commander is a shot tag. It's one of the 2 primary tags, right? The 10% shot attack boost. You can actually see it there as the primary tag for this frame in general. With that in mind, even though it's a melee weapon, and the first tag is kind of ambiguous, you can use it on melee or shot, it's just an interesting combination all the way around the board. If you're desert, if you're commander, this is a very powerful part. 50% EX skill damage, 20% initial EX skill charge boost. Very, very strong. Very strong if you can activate both of those traits. But that is kind of where that desert category reliance gimps this relatively hard. All right, let's look at the Heat Shotel coupled. With Speed Attribute, initial squad charge plus 18%, and while Gundam type squad shooting power plus 30%. So, the one issue that I have with this, because the Gundam type shooting power boost is really good. Gundam type available on so many parts, activates a ton of powerful traits, this just being another one to add to the list. Cool. However, Speed Attribute, big issue with that. Speed Attribute, meaning you are heavily limiting yourself as to what you can kind of do with the frame. Granted, squad charge. Not just your charge, squad charge. So you can put this onto a secondary suit, kind of offsetting that requirement for speed on your main damage dealer. Cool. 18% initial squad charge. That's a very high modifier. Awesome. While Gundam type, squad shooting power plus 30%. Overall, my first impressions when I looked at it was like, meh. But actually reading it over, this is really good. The squad shooting power boost and the squad charge boost means you can put this onto any 3 of the suits that you field, and you're getting the full benefits of it. Without, if you don't put on your primary suit, no demerits to your primary suit. That's very good. However, obviously, shooting power boost will only work if, for anyone that uses shot. So this does limit, you can't use a melee primary damage dealer suit to get this benefit because shot. But honestly, yeah, this is nice. For a 4-star part in the event capsule, meaning it's just available and you can get the tokens to it and roll it whenever it's up and around, this is actually really nice to kind of stumble into. Nice. For what it is, that's actually really nice. What the fuck is that? Over 6,000 melee attack? Are you fucking serious? Boy? You're a 4-star weapon. Get the fuck out of here. Alright. Commander Gundam type. Cool beans. Alright, let's look at the shield. Shield throw. A pierce, B plus power. Alright. Yeah. As the kids say, shit slaps. Literally. I have no real complaints about this. A B plus power, A pierce. Yeet. Good to go. So, the Sandrock post alteration, pretty good. Cool stuff. What was its max out at on the Twin Blade? It was like 6 point something K. Yeah, 6.2K. Let's see what it looks like with all the bells and whistles. Almost 12K. That's a very powerful shuttle for not being limited, honestly. Alright. Well, now that we're done one suit, let's start on the second suit. Alright, G-Exis. Start from the top. Beam Vulcan. D-D. Now, you guys were swearing up and down I need to look at this and not just immediately look away because it's Vulcan, so let's do it. Alright, the Beam Vulcan in straight ahead. Chance of piercing super armor, that's normal. Stop EX skill cooldown recovery of all enemies. Lower hits the Gunpla beam resist by 19%. Okay, so here's the problem I have with this. If you just read the text, it sounds absolutely busted and broken. Just stop the cooldown recovery. Just straight up, like, you're done. No natural recharge. But there's got to be a time limit to that. I cannot see them going, yes, let's make these Vulcans permanently disable EX skills. There's just no way. So there's a time limit. But nowhere on here does it give you a time limit. It's very confusing. So this is going to be one of those double verdict parts, really depending on the implementation of this. In the scenario that it is a permanent cooldown reduction block, this is an excessively powerful part. This is stupidly powerful to the point of just straight up taking the meta, flipping it upside down, and going, ha. If it is a time-limited cooldown recovery block, then it really depends on the duration of it. If it is short, okay. If it's a very long one, like perhaps the entire 19-second base cooldown, okay. But yeah. Like it really depends on like how it handles the cooldown blocker. Even if it lasts 5 seconds with 100% CDR, it's effectively permanent. So I get where you're going with that, but simultaneously, it's not hard for the enemy suit to put their shield up to block the Vulcan shots, or dash away from it, or hit you, all sorts of things. I'm not saying that they would. I'm not saying, it's perfect, but I think you're kind of hyping this up to be way more powerful than it actually is. Again, on paper, this looks really, really, really good. But I think it really comes down to what is the duration of the block. And, like, yeah, that's actually really it. Is it permanent? Is it a duration? What's the duration? Stop EX skill cooldown recovery of all enemies. I would assume it means all enemies hit. It doesn't make any sense to use it and just globally block everyone's cooldown. That just doesn't make sense. If it is a global skill that you don't even have to hit them, then yeah, that's actually ridiculous. But if it requires you to hit them, which is what I'm expecting, I think this is literally just a poor translation. Again, not like we have precedent of that or anything. It's okay. Then it's missing text. Mana, I want you to look me in the eye, as close as you can, considering the digital thing going on here. Look me in the eye and tell me that Bamco has never in the past accidentally skill text before. I'm waiting. I thought. See ya, Jen. It's an interesting text, absolutely, but it sounds too good for what it is. Okay. High mobility, ace exclusive. High mobility, powerful tertiary tag, ace exclusive, powerful primary tag for shot machines. No issues here. Literally just the EX skill is really the only thing up in the air here. Just like streamers never lied on. Are you telling me I would intentionally lie to you, Mana? Come on, do you think people would do that? Go on the internet and tell lies? Come on now. Anyways, this part has the potential to be absolutely game-breaking if it is global. It has the potential to be okay if it's not global. It's pretty much what it boils down to. Also, if it's permanent or not permanent. Anyway, moving on to the next part, because there are just way too many what-ifs with that part to really give a solid yay or nay about it, you know? I hope you understand. So, torso. While for urban area, I've talked about the 4 line of tags, so I'm not going to do it again. Revive with 60% armor one time. I've talked about my feeling of guts. I'll move right along. While for urban area, EX skill cooldown reduced by 23%. So literally, if you are ever able to run urban, you want this torso. You got your armor for res in case something goes wrong. You got your EX skill cooldown reduction. Again, this is in looking at it from the sphere of a 4-star part, not from like an overall meta part or anything. At a meta level, the revive with armor really is just not. No. High mobility for urban. Cool. Not really surprised by that combo. Alright, G-Axis arms with dual saber category equipped. Easy enough to get. Enemy melee damage plus 30%. Yep, so 30% is kind of the standard that we see outside of Limited and Sokai, especially when the requirements are so lax. If it was more strict or a more restricted weapon type, we would expect that to be more 40%. But 30% for dual saber, sure. While high mobility, EX skill damage plus 35%. High mobility, available on a lot of parts. It hits a powerful tertiary, tons of traits that it activates, this being another one of them. Sure, melee damage and EX skill damage boost. Heck yeah. It's a shame that it's definitely more of a melee-centric one with the melee damage boost, but, you know, you roll with the punches, is what it is. Legs! Oh, we see an EX skill. Missile pod. D pierce A minus power, launch your missiles. If this works like the other missile EX skills that we've seen in the past, bog standard, fires a couple of homing rockets, does a little bit of damage, bada bing, bada boom. No real major complaints about this. Okay. High mobility for urban. Bleh. Backpack. Wolf Fangs, A pierce B plus power, sample. Oh boy, give me a second here, guys. If this hasn't already been pointed out to them, I want to do it now. Yeah, so apparently the G-Axis, yeah, I think it's just this suit has a couple of text problems. Yeah. I'm going to chalk it up to, I'm pretty sure the head is a typo seeing this. Anyways, lowers hit enemy Gunpla melee defense by 29%, A pierce, B plus power, very low cooldown. On paper, doesn't look like there really be any problems, but with the lack of a skill description to tell us how it actually behaves, with lack of any kind of animation video to watch how it behaves, the best I'm going to be able to say with this is it completely depends on the animation. It could be very good if it has basic, simple homing, if it's very short and to the point, so there's less to width. But honestly, don't know until I see it. I put in the on paper looks good category. All right, let's check out the beam sabers, or dual sabers, I guess. After 30 seconds pass, boost job gauge by 50% once. I've talked about the job gauge. 30 seconds passing. This is, again, something you're more going to see in the lower level player content kind of deal once you get to a certain point. Again, 30 seconds is like an age. It's an eon at that point. So I don't know if you'd ever really see this activate. After 30 seconds pass, reduce cooldown by 99% once. So this is definitely something I would recommend to newer players. This could be something that I recommend to very specific multi-missions where, 30 seconds plus is a little normal. You get that 99% CDR. Maybe the job gauge boost will help you out with some extra DPS output, whatever. But for most content, 30 seconds passing, you're not going to see that. Again, most content, not all content. High mobility, high firepower, interesting tag combo. Beam rifle for the Exis. While for urban, job gauge increase boosted by 60%. I've already talked about both of those things. While for urban, all enemy cooldown time up 30%. Again, this is just a really weird interaction kind of trait. On paper, sounds really, really, really good. But in practice, from what I hear from people that have labbed it, it really depends because this could target only the suit that you're aiming at. Or suits that are targeting you specifically, I should say. So you're fighting 3 suits. You have your 3 suits. You have your 1 suit that, has this on it. Anything that's targeting it would have a longer cooldown time. Targeting other stuff, normal cooldown time. That's at least how I have understood it from how it was explained to me. And obviously that's not that great. All right, and lastly, the shield. When beam damage taken, enemy shooting power reduced by 70%. So beam damage, that is beam melee, that is beam shot. So that's 50% of the damage types right there. Shooting power reduced by 70%. Kind of like what I said previously, this requires beam shooting to really see the most effectiveness. If it's a melee suit, obviously you're not going to really see this work. If they are using physical shot, again, you're really not going to see this work. With dual saber category equipped, debuff EX skill time up 40%. Personally, I don't think you need to extend buffs or debuff durations. Typically, they're like anywhere from 49 seconds to over a minute. You should be able to finish your fight by then, unless you're brand new to the game or you have some really extenuating circumstances going on with your multi-mission or whatever. I don't think you really need to boost the timer on these things, personally. Yeah. So the Exis is really interesting. It has some cool parts on it, some neat traits. The head part is definitely, as was mentioned in chat, an experimental part. It would need some labbing to really figure out what exactly it does, where it stands. Yeah. I really don't know how to feel about it, honestly. Statistically, I didn't really look at the stats on it because, frankly, like it's a 4-star suit in here, alteration. The numbers looked like they were kind of that like post power creep, so it's going to be better than most of the basic 4-star suits in the game. And it really just comes down to trait and EX skill distribution, which really didn't wow me or anything. It was okay. Yeah. Nothing jaw-dropping. All right, let's check out Code Phi, and that's the perfect pack. With axe, the head, I should say, starting with axe category equipped, enemy melee damage plus 30%. We do have a good amount of axes in the game, so you can definitely custom skin it. You could probably find a decent one to main hand to begin with. The 30% melee damage, nice. While close combat, EX skill power boosted by 35%. Close combat available on a ton of parts, no problems there, good boosts. Backpack assassination. Now, this was one of the de facto power parts way back in the day. So the way that this works is, at least based on the previous assassination on here. Okay, I'm thinking of a different one off the top of my head, but assassination is still really powerful. A+ pierce, A+ power. It's a bindable skill with a short cooldown, 41 second base, 11 initial. That's actually really good, all things considered, what it does. Raise melee attack of your squad by 19%. Raise beam and physical resist of your squad by 29%. You do get that token melee attack boost. You get a little bit of resistance. But overall, A+, A+ on that low cooldown, considering this part is 4-star in the event capsule. I got no complaints about that. That's actually really solid. Good stuff. Arms. Alright. While for Tundra, buff EX skill effect up 35%. I've talked about the 4 line of tags, not going to do it again. Buff EX skill effect up, talked about that already, won't do it again. When armor is 90% or less, recover 1000 armor gradually. To explain to you how completely useless this trait is, this part alone has 3000 armor. Typically the arms don't really have a lot. Let's go to the torso really quick here. Cool beans. This has almost 4000 armor. Okay. Recover 1000 armor gradually. So whatever it counts as gradually, you're going to be recovering 1000 points. Now, this does say, well, armor is 90% or less, so it does activate relatively early. However, in a perfect world where you're getting hit, or I guess not getting hit, 1000 armor is not a lot. I wish this was percent based, because that would give us a much better idea of how long it'll take to heal. But as parts in this game have varying armor values, as parts in this game have varying, effectively armor values based on what they are, metalled or not, all that. Really, this comes down to how much armor does your suit have? Most suits, once you get to a certain point, will have over 100,000 armor. That means this needs 100 ticks to really do anything worthwhile. And yeah, it's a long time, because this isn't like a half-second tick or anything. These are kind of meaty ticks. So if you're constantly taking damage, 1000 won't save you. If you're taking an EX skill, 1000 won't save you. You've already got to be kind of powerful enough to survive for this to be really useful. And at that point, you should probably be running something that helps you kill the other guy. You know? It's okay. The 1000 armor at least is better than stuff we've seen in the past, but still not amazing. Alright, legs. When attacking with beam, all power boosted by 30%. Very simple, very straightforward. Any beams, that's beam melee, beam shot, all power boost. I like it. Shot damage raised 30%, so you take 30% more shot damage. Enemy EX skill damage plus 40%. I can get behind this part. It doesn't specify melee, doesn't specify shot. This is a part that boosts all power and your EX skills. This will work on any type of build. Awesome stuff. Good numbers behind it when you consider what the part actually is. Cool beans. Backpack. Phi combination, or Phi combination. Code Phi, code Phi. Code Phi. I want Phi, fuck. Anyways. Launch a destructive photon torpedo and fire a high output beam in assault mode. Raise shot attack of your squad by 44%. Squad continuously recovers 10% of armor at a time. SS minus bindables. Did they forget that this was a 4-star part in the event capsule? Did they like slip up and this was supposed to be a Sokai or something and instead we got it in here? If you get this part, this is on par with limited Sokai parts. That's what this is. This is a limited Sokai part in the event capsule pool. Wow. Oh boy, all the things I expected to see in this event capsule pool, this was not one of them. Okay. Yeehaw. I gotta figure out something here, because I've noticed that my YouTube chat's taking a very long time to update, because I'm reading my actual YouTube chat, and it's updating just fine. But this apparently is having a real problem keeping up. I might need to get a new widget app for this. I'll look into it for the next stream I do. Yeah, thanks for the sub, bud. On that note, I should probably hide the Twitter video thing, because I'm not really using it right now. Man. I'm just... Wow. Honestly, this part is amazing. Again, you get this part, invest. This is a limited Sokai part sitting in the event capsule pool. That's all this is. Damn, man. Alright, let's take a look at our Beam Scythe, Grave Punisher. Yeah, so this was the one I was thinking of originally. So what this does is when you use it, you swing your scythe and it's shooting out shockwaves on the ground at whatever you're looking at. As you defeat things, it snaps to new targets, and the projectiles fly pretty fast on the ground. This is a solid EX skill, all things considered. B+ power, D pierce, low cooldown. Cool stuff. Yeah, the backpack did have really good tags as well. It was what, high firepower exclusive? Yeah. Honest, that backpack is just top dog. Alright, and beam rifle for the Code 5 Perfect pack. While for Tundra, enemy all damage plus 40%. I've talked about this already before. While armor is 90% or more, enemy EX skill damage plus 40%. So if you're running in a Tundra map, or sorry, if you have the 4 Tundra tag active and you have at least 90% of your health, if not more, you're getting an all damage plus 40% and an EX skill damage plus 40%. The hardest part is going to be the 4 Tundra, as that could be effectively gimping you depending on the rest of your suit, what else is available, and all these other factors. So could be a lot worse, could be a lot better. Okay. Cool stuff. You know what? I kind of want to blow my tokens on that capsule thing now to see if I get that backpack. So please pardon me for a second here while I do that, because that's actually kind of dope. Okay, I have a lot more than I thought. I'll save that for the end of the stream, because otherwise we'll be here for a while watching me roll this capsule gacha, but I will come back. Okay, let's take a look at our G Self. This is a perfect pack? No, atmospheric pack. So this is, wait, is this our welfare? Or no, this is the original version of it, non-Alta Tribute. Okay. When 2 enemies shot down, close shot attack raised by 20%. So when you shoot down 2 enemies, meaning this is already restricted to a few game modes, as you're not able to do this in one-on-one arena. You're not able to do this in most of the multi-missions, as they only have the 1 enemy. Pretty much any content that does not have 2 enemies or more, or I guess more than 2 enemies, because if it only had 2 enemies, you wouldn't be able to enjoy the buff. Close shot attack raised by 20%. What this means is, depending on the distance you have from your enemy, your reticle will change. Close is a very small distance between you and your enemy, the reticle will change, and it only affects your ranged neutral attack. With that in mind, this does not affect, you're very far away from your enemy and you attack them. No, you use an EX skill that gets up really close and personal, and part of the EX skill is shooting them point blank. Does not count. Only your neutral attacks at a close range, and it's only a 20% boost. It's just not worth it. With Power Tribute, so 5 parts or more that are of the Power Tribute equipped, non-EX skill power boosts by 70%. Already talked about that. This is kind of neat though, because before we had a, I believe it was Speed Attribute for this activation, now it's Power. Okay, given that little split's nice, but overall, I wouldn't take the part. Torso. G Self combination, A+ pierce, A power, speed boost, 39% melee attack boost, 19% shot defense boost, cool beans. Honestly, a nice upgrade for a 4-star suit. Alright, I got no real complaints here. It's good stuff. Non-limited? Dang, son. Arms. You'll need more capsule tickets to get that FI back. Yeah, well, you know what? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay, you know what? This give me a second here. This chat box taking forever to update's actually tilting me. Let's see here. Sources. Boy, what's your beef here, bud? Why are you not hooking into my YouTube chat? What is going on here, man? That is so weird. Why is it not picking up the chat? What the? I wonder if I can just get the chat source directly from YouTube. Give me a second here. I hate that this like stopped work because it used to work just fine, and then I think over the last few months it's just kind of been having a real hiccup. Okay, now apparently it's not like a widespread problem, but like it's a known problem. That's so weird. Alright, I'll address this on another day. I don't want to delay the stream for any longer than I need to. I'll get back to this, and I'll worry about the chat box later. That's kind of yikes. Although what I will do for now is I will, because I should still have the chat box popped out, right? Somewhere. No? Yes? Maybe? Okay, here it is. Pop out the chat. And I'll just hook into this really quick. Give me a moment. Sources, window. And that's going to be, yep. Do that, do that. We want that set to live chat. We'll increase the size here. Move it down. Well, you know what? Maybe I can increase the chat size to make this more... Yeah, that'll work. I don't care. Can I get rid of that chat bubble? No? Really? Ah, there we go. Eat that, YouTube. Eat my shorts. Excellent. We'll just do that for now. Oh, maybe. Oh yeah, do that. That'll be great. Sorry guys, just dealing with YouTube stuff as it be. Okay, there we go. Look at that. Mwah! Magnificent. Look at this workaround. I hate it, but it'll do for now. And I'll probably just write my own script for it later. Anyways, back to what we were doing. Looking at the G self. Because, yeah, let's get this done. And lock that. Okay. Oh, so Gundam G self hands. We've looked at that. Cool. Moving along to the legs. Middle shooter job, EX skill cooldown reduced by 20%. Lots of middle shooters in this game, no issues getting those. Cool beans. EX skill cooldown reduced by 20%. Okay. Sure. While Gundam type, enemy all power reduced by 30%. Now, keep in mind, this will only activate for the suit this part is on. So if I have my primary damage dealer suit and then I have a secondary support suit that has this part, my normal suit will take full damage, but that supporter suit, as long as it's Gundam type, will have 30% kind of damage block. Yeah, we haven't even reached the Sokai suits yet. I know. We got a long road ahead of us. That's why I'm going to try to start speeding this up a little bit, because I do want to finish this, like I said, before like 2 a.m. Backpack for the G-Self Atmospheric Laser Pod, D Pierce, B plus power, 7 magazine, and that's at level 10? Wow, yeah, you can really feel the age on this one. Yeah, so 7 magazine, not inherently terrible, but 11 magazine is kind of the standard these days for a magazine. B plus power is good, D Pierce is again standard. Okay, literally the only downside to this is the smaller magazine. Why speed up when we can take our time? Because, mana. Unlike wherever you are in the world, it's already 12:30. I am tired. I wish to sleep. Although I say that, but at the same time, I know I'm going to probably stay up until the Grand Blue Flash banner starts so I can roll Michael. I hate being a gacha brain. It sucks, man. I need help. Alright. Anyway, so like I said, the backpack magazine skill, it's solid. The only real downside is the smaller magazine than what we normally see. 7 versus the normal 11. 7 is a relic of a much older time for this game. Beam Saber, while Gundam type, strong melee crit, not going to read any further. Crit has, as I said, it's useless. That has not changed in the last, hour. So, yeah. Outfighter job, enemy EX skill damage plus 35%. That second trait is very, very strong, the EX skill damage boost for an Outfighter job license, alright. But it's really ruined by that first trait. You are effectively upgrading this part all the way just for that second trait. I don't think it's worth it. Man, y'all sadists in the chat. Why you like this, though? Give me a break, man. Why are we here? Just to suffer? Alright, the G-Self Atmospheric Pack, the original attribute, power, beam rifle. With power attribute, job gauge increase boosted by 17%. I've already talked about this. Beam ranged weapon reload speed boosted by 35%. So what this means is whatever weapon you have in your ranged slot, beam rifle, beam sniper rifle, bazooka, you name it, the reload speed is boosted by 35%. Do keep in mind, typically, weapons reload speed will be anywhere between probably 3 to 5-ish seconds, kind of in that window, typically on the higher side of things. 35% speed boost, let's say 5 seconds. You're looking at, what, that's like a 1.5 second reduction, kind of around there. At the end of the day, that's not a lot. That's really not going to be winning you many fights. No. So, to me, this entire thing is just a wash. Alright, I hear footsteps. He's still alive. I don't know if you guys picked that up or not. So my brother's been having a real problem with phlegm recently. It lasts month or so. And every now and again, he'll have to cough up a whole bunch of phlegm. That one sounded like he was drowning on it, and I was actually legitimately concerned for him, but then I heard him after he coughed it all up walking around. It's okay, he's still alive. Okay, cool. Jeez. Alright. Anyways, beam rifle, I think it's a wash. Let's look at the shield. When debuffed, enemy shooting power reduced by 30%. Again, this only affects the suit this is equipped onto. With power attribute, enemy EX skill penetration reduced by 80%. Again, only affecting the suit that this is put onto. That does heavily reduce the overall viability of this, as it does require you to have this shield on your primary suit to really benefit from this. But at the same time, 80% of their pen, gone. 30% of shooting power, gone. It does rely on your enemy using penetration over power, or pierce versus power with their skills, and to be a shot type suit. So there is kind of an ask there to really make the most out of this. With that in mind, mileage may vary. Use it if you want to. All right. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. Next up is the Perfect Strike. Oh, good. There's only 5 parts on this one. Yay. I missed 10 alterations week so much. I'm so happy to see it again. 2 or 3 months now. Why you like this, Kyle? Do you enjoy watching me suffer, dude? Is this your idea of a fun night? Is this what you wanted? Fucking monster. Alright, Perfect Strike Gundam Head, Eagle Stellan, D- Pierce, D Power, it's Eagle Stellan, it's a Vulcan, it's garbage! Moving on to the body. With Technique Attribute, revive at 50% armor one time, I've talked about this before, while mid-range, 25% chance to survive a fatal blow. So, mid-range is a tertiary tag, it does activate a handful of traits, I don't know, like some of them are okay, 25% chance to survive a fatal blow is a 1 in 4 chance to not die instantly from something. And you know what? On paper, that could sound pretty neat. However, you're better off running a gut skill where you will revive when you die. However, I already don't like those skills to begin with. Adding a layer of RNG makes me like it even less. This is a part. It exists. I do not like it. Shut up, Mana. Alright, Perfect Strike Gundam Arm with Integrated Shield, a combo weapon pod, A-, Pierce, B Power, 7 magazine, fire missiles, and a Vulcan from the unit on your shoulder. You can move while firing. This fires a lot of projectiles, meaning there are more chances for them to miss, meaning the amount of damage that you output could be significantly reduced. So although it has B Power, A- Pierce on paper looks really solid and suffers from the lower magazine that we know from, an older time. I don't know if it depends, right? Like, are you able to hit all your shots? If so, yeah, it's probably worth it. But I find that the less a magazine skill fires, the better the returns are, just because there is less chance to start missing and watching your damage go. Simultaneously, if you fire a single shot and you miss, that's 100% damage loss, versus you fire something like this and you miss a few shots, right? You're still getting like probably 93% of the damage out. So it depends on how you decide to approach the problem. So on paper, cool beans. Legs. When attacking with beam, mid-shot attack raise 20%. Again, this refers to the distance between you and your enemy. So you have your close range, you have your long range, and then this is the mid-shot range area, and that's a 20% boost. Honestly, again, because it only affects your neutrals, not really that amazing. Before 15 seconds pass, shooting power boosted by 70%. That is an extremely high modifier to see on this type of machine, and that is purely due to the 15 seconds as a kind of the activation point. So after 15 seconds, you're not going to have that 70% boost anymore. Honestly, because of that first trait and the high time requirements of the second one, it's okay. The legs are interesting. Can the second trait carry the part? So here's the thing, right? We look at this, and let's say we have just that second trait, shooting power plus 70%. Okay, we have quite a number of parts that increase your EX skill by 35% twice on the same part. Or they'll increase your shooting power and your EX skill damage. Or they'll increase your EX skill damage and your melee attack. Whatever. We have multiple parts that'll add up to 70% as well. The difference is they do not require the first 15 seconds as kind of their thing. They'll be like, oh, you got to be pro tag, or oh, you got to be using the specific weapon. And I think those are overall better, just because it's more, it stays in effect for longer. But of course, if you're able to finish a fight within 15 seconds, absolutely. One part, one trait. There you go. Done. But I think the overwhelming majority of people would probably be better off equipping a single part with 2 traits that add up to 70% or higher that have a more permanent activation trigger. And backpack for the perfect strike, perfect assault, D pierce, S power, melee attack boost 24%, shot attack boost 34%, shot defense boost 19%. On paper, looks very, very powerful. The S power, bindable, all these buffs, cool beans. I have no real complaints about this one. Cool stuff. Psycho Zaku. Oh boy, Thunderbolt version. Reuse P device. Raise your speed by 20%, shot attack 39%, burn your capacity 25%. Alright, yeah, it's a bog standard awakening for this bracket. Cool beans. Not like top tier amazing, but for what it is, good. When armor is 70% or less, buff EX skill effect up 22%. I've talked about this before. While Zaku type... Excuse me. While Zaku type, EX skill cooldown reduced by 23%. And if you see Zaku type at the bottom there, it's a melee attack boost. Meaning, you're probably not going to run this on your shot machine. So this does kind of have a heavy restriction of really being more primarily centric towards melee versus shot. A 23% EX skill cooldown reduction is quite beefy though. And the buff skill effect up, while sounding nice, does require a significant amount of damage to be taken to actually activate. So that kind of puts it up in the air as to viability overall. It's okay. Arms with technique attribute, enemy melee power reduced by 30%. Again, only affects the suit that this is put onto. With bazooka category equipped, enemy all power reduced by 45%. Again, refers to the suit that this is equipped onto. So if your suit is a technique suit and it has a bazooka, you're looking at a 75% melee power reduction and 45% of everything else. Significant. Legs. As I said, legs. Mid shooter job. Mid shot attack raised by 20%. I talked about this. When beam resistance is under 15k, enemy shooting damage plus 35%. Now, this could actually be kind of difficult to keep active, just because once you get to a certain point, your resistances are going to naturally increase with all of your other stats. With that in mind, because you'd really only want this for that second trait, unless you're doing something really shenanigan-like with that first trait and mid-shot attack, you're probably better off finding a different pair of legs that give you two traits that you can use, or a much stronger single trait with an easier activation point. Backpack. Bump of Living Dead. That's such a weird name. D Pierce, S Power, Bindable Cutscene. Squad recovers 48% of armor, shot attack boost of 39%. So, much like I mentioned previously with a skill that did very similar stuff, the 49% heal or 48% heal is very, very powerful. The 39% shot attack boost is very, very high. S Power is going to make it hit like a truck. And it says box standard cutscene. Good stuff, backpack. Good stuff. And lastly, our giant bazooka. Physical ranged weapon reload speed boosted by 20%. This is considered a physical weapon. Just the type of bazooka that it is. So it'll reload 20% faster, but I've already gone over the numbers for you there. That's really just not significant. This is going to be like maybe a 3-second at most kind of dealio. It's not. Actually, sorry, no, it would be a 1 second, 20%. Back parts EX skill power boosted by 35%. So 35%. What this part is very high. However, the restriction again is back EX skill only, meaning nothing else will get affected. So that's kind of why the numbers are so high. It's okay, you know. The Psycho Zaku was kind of a letdown, really. The backpack was nice though. All right, and our Victory Gundam, the last mobile suit in the permanent lineup, and then we get to move for Suffering. I loved the game so much when I started, dedicated a lot of time to it, had all the pre-reg gifts, stopped playing a year and a half ago because they couldn't retrieve my account. At least that's what I assume you're going to go with there. Yeah, Gary, I have found it very interesting seeing how many games still launched, like in the last handful of years, using the extremely archaic bind code system. Don't get me wrong, I see the pros and the cons involved with it. There are a lot of pros to it, but unfortunately, when you've made a system that early on at least did have a chance of kind of kicking people out of their accounts and you had to log back in, if you didn't have your bind code, you were kind of SOL. Honestly, everything should be account based these days. Like, just creating one of the first things, okay, now this is of course anecdotal, but one of the first things I was taught when I got around to starting programming and web development, and the thing I've seen most people that I know of first learn, is an account creation system. That's where you ask for a username, an email, a password. It stores the data inside of a database. It salts the data so you can't just get the data from plain texting the database or something. And then you create a login system for it. What I don't understand is why we have all of these modern games, some these days, very recently some games, but 3-4 years ago, so many games releasing without this basic functionality, right? I don't need to be able to connect to my Google account, convenient as it may be. I don't need to connect to my Twitter account, convenient as it may be. I don't need to connect to any of these things, but please, let me create a username and a password, or an email and a password, and just attach my data to this so that in the future, right, it's easy for me to log into my account should I lose it. It should be easy to recover it because you have my email address tied to the account and you can just send my data to me. All these things. It's so weird. Like, I just find it weird. There's obviously got to be some reason why they love using their bind codes. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know. But it's like one of the first things I remember learning in a formal setup where, you had to start managing any kind of users, was how to create an account, how to log into the account. And from there, it would be as simple as saying, hey, this account ID belongs to this email address. Done. You don't need to hook me up to Google and learn their token system. You don't need to hook me up to Twitter. You don't need to hook me up to Facebook. You don't need to do any of this. Just create your own email and password system, and almost all of these problems are gone. It may be a little inconvenient for your end, but you know what? The users will love you for it because it is simple. Yeah, it's weird, Omar. Like, it's just weird. Anyways, Victory Gundam Hexa. Weird name. Alright, when armor is 90% or less, EX skill piercing boosted by 22%. So the EX skill piercing is kind of weird. EX skill piercing refers to how much of the enemy defense and resistances you ignore when you're doing damage to the opponent. With that in mind, 22%, while it sounds like almost a 1 in 5, or arguably approaching 1 in 4, is very weird, because how it fits into the damage formula is not exactly clear. Well, I guess you could argue it's clear as mud. But with that in mind, it's very non-intuitive. So when it says, hey, your piercing's boosted by 22%. All right, cool. This skill has D pierce. What is 22% on top of D? What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. I don't even know if Bandai knows. It's so fucking weird. On paper, it means you kind of ignoring 22% more, but it's just stack more EX skill power. It just hit harder. When armor is 90% or less, enemy EX skill damage plus 30%. Now, overall, I will say, together, these traits are very powerful. So you are doing 30% more EX skill damage while ignoring 22% more for your piercing. Symbiotic. Very, very powerful together. However, I wish we had a more concrete idea of EX skill piercing percentage values, because everything is represented by letters. I don't get it. All right. The head is tentatively very interesting for what it is. Also, when in multi-mission sortie, and it should be pretty straightforward, dead dub don't open, shooting power boosted by 25%. Not the highest modifier that we've seen on this tier of suit, but okay. Defender job, EX skill power boosted by 35%. The big demerit of running a defender job is that you lack the extra bonuses to your offensive values. When you're running an infighter or you're running an outfighter, you get, and of course you change your job license to one of those, you get a offensive stat increase to your melee, which is really helpful. I believe also melee defense. Anyways, helpful. With a defender job, you get the EX skill power boost, but you're going to lose that passive boost benefit from the pilot, which I believe is like a 10% boost or something, or maybe even more. End of the day, you stand to lose depending on how much how high your stats are. You stand to lose a lot more by changing from an infighter or an outfighter or a long shooter or a mid shooter to a defender. So mileage may vary on this. Personally, I think early on this might be useful, but I think even by mid game, this is just going to fall right off. You're going to be doing other stuff. Doesn't like every single Bamco mobile use transfer code? Potentially, actually, now that you mention it. Social media bind was supposed to prevent players selling their account. It's so weird. Like, yeah, with my bind code, it takes no effort at all for me to create a good account and just sell it to somebody. I don't need to give them my email. I don't need to give them any of my personal information. I literally just go, here's the like 20 character code and here's the password. Enjoy your account, bucko. You know, seconds later, they're off to the races. I don't have to worry about, oh, maybe I should change the email account locked onto this account so that, you know, they can, you know, I don't have to give them my personal data or any other myriad things, right? But whatever. We don't sit on the board. We don't know. Whatever decisions they made for their reasons. Arms. Vertical, saber, spin. A pierce, B plus power. Lower hit enemies Gunpla beam resist by 39%. Now, the description, spin your right wrist with an oscillating beam saber. On paper, just numerically, and letters, looks good. But after reading the description, it comes off as something that would probably be very easy to whiff, as it has a very small frontal kind of damage area. With that in mind, I would have to see the animation on this. Purely paper, nice. A pierce, B plus power, low cooldown, cool beans. In practice, I got a weird feeling this is very easy to whiff, miss, and just not do anything with. Legs. When beam resistance is over 3000, EX skill damage reduced by 20. Flat number, useless. While Transformer, EX skill cooldown reduced by 20%. Transformer, relatively available, decent amount of parts, activates a good handful of traits. The EX skill cooldown reduction of 20% is a healthy value as well for the requirement. Alright, unfortunately, this part is heavily kneecapped by that first trait. With that in mind, is it really worth investing, time, you get this part from the event capsule. Is it worth investing your stuff just for the second trait? I don't think so. Up to you. You do whatever you want with your stuff. And lastly, our backpack. Long shooter job. Long shot attack raised by 14%. We've talked about our close shot. We've talked about our mid shot. And now we got our long shot. It's garbage. While Gundam type, shooting crit. No, that's also garbage. Cool. I don't even have to read about this backpack. Bye. All right. And those are the permanent suits. Ooh, this suit was a welfare. It makes sense. It's a different color than the rest of them. But all things considered, it didn't really come out the other side very well. It's okay, but it's not anything amazing. Okay, so we're going to start with the, I believe, Shiranui, because I remember somebody saying the, oh wait, hold on, both of the, oh yeah. So the Shiranui is new, the Unicorn is new, and the Turn A is new. So we're going to start from the Akatsuki, and we're going to go from there. Close-in weapon system, D-D. It's literally Vulcans with a different name, or I guess Eagle Stelling. Garbage. Commander, mid-range, healthy word tags, cool beans. Torso, Yata no Kagami. Repel beams with nanoscale beam, blah, 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 blah. Raise your shot defense by 29%. Raise your beam resist by 109%, and you resist flinching. Now, I really wish that this actually just straight reflected all beams, because that would be really, really cool and actually worth fielding. However, it instead just gives you a 109% beam resist value, which is, that's beefy. Don't get me wrong, that's a big number. But this can be overcome with enough resistance cuts, piercings, or I guess penetrations, whatever. It's okay as an awakening, but is a purely defensive awakening, and it is a purely beam defensive awakening, meaning if the enemy uses physical, this does effectively nothing for you outside of the 29 shot defense boost, 29% shot defense boost. And if they use beam, you do have to activate this before they hit you and hope they don't have the pierce to counter your 109% resist. Not terrible, not great, situational. Arms. Revive with 30% armor one time. There is no activation for this, but it's still just not great. And the second one, initial EX skill charge boosted by 12%. No activation requirements, just the flat bonus. 12% for initial EX skill charge is okay. Definitely not the highest we've ever seen, not the lowest. It's okay, but paired with that first trait, I don't think I'd want to invest in this part. Legs. Experimental twin beam saber D pierce A- power. Perform a combo with 2 detached sabers, then link them for a spinning attack. I'm pretty sure I know the animation for this, and I'm pretty sure it's just not good. No. Backpack. Guided mobile beam turret. Fire beams from the 7 turrets to hit foes in all directions. You can move while this is active. A+ pierce, B+ power. Cool. From what I understand, this is a beam funnel. You know what's wrong with beam funnels? I've talked about it before in this very stream. On paper, it looks really, really good. Unfortunately, it suffers from the same downsides that most beam funnels do. At least it has 7 funnels, but I'm not saying it again, Mana. You can't bait me into doing it. You can't. I refuse. You got me once this stream, it ain't happening again. Alright. The experimental twin beam saber, the part this time, not the EX skill. 7, but it's not 24. Oh boy. So, beam saber, debuff EX skill effect up 15%, debuff EX skill effect time up 22%. Long and short, if you're using a debuff skill, this will give you a 15% extra potency and 22% duration. I've already talked about why duration really isn't that handy, and the 15% is a flat addition. It's a low value. You can get much higher from other parts. I think you can just find a better weapon overall. If you like the way this looks graphically, use it as a custom skin part. That's what I'm going to tell you. And the shiny rifle. Well, it's not really shiny for some reason, but you know, it's part of the shiny suit. All power boosted by 25%. That's a flat bonus if I've ever seen one. Enemy all damage plus 30%. There you go. 25%, 30% slides into 2 different parts of that battle formula. As far as non-Sokai limited parts go, mint. That is a mint part. And lastly, our shield. And in case anyone is too young to know what mint means, good. Very good. Mucho goodo. Alright, Type 71, experimental defensive shield. For 20 seconds after you're attacked with an EX skill, enemy EX skill power reduced by 35%. Again, only affects the suit this is equipped onto. And when beam damage taken, enemy shooting power reduced by 90%. So this, again, is very situational. You have to make sure that the enemy is using shooting damage. You have to make sure that they are using beam shooting damage. If the enemy is using physical, this is immediately worthless. If they're using melee, this is also effectively worthless. So, yeah. Food for thought. Honestly, it's a neat shield, just not... No. Alright. Neat Akatsuki, I guess. Unicorn Gundam. The big boy. Luminous crystal body. While Pro Tag, all enemy EX skill damage plus 45%. Now, this is a limited Sokai suit. We are going to be seeing much stronger traits and EX skills on this, and the turn A. While Pro Tag, all enemy EX skill damage plus 45%. Pro Tag, very accessible. You're going to be using it on a melee build. It's not even a question. Very powerful boost. While Close Combat, all enemies EX skill damage is further boosted by 45%. If you're running a melee suit, there's a very high chance you're going to be running Close Combat. And if you're not, there's almost no way you would fail to make Close Combat your tertiary tag if you wanted to. It is available on a slew of parts, available across multiple different years of this game's lifespan. You got options. Very powerful. Pro Tag, Close Combat, two things you would expect to see on a melee-centric suit. And you get a 90% EX skill damage boost for it. That's solid. The shield is doing what the chest EX does in a better form. It's kind of sad, isn't it? Alright, Close Combat and Pro Tag. Cool beans. Torso! That's our Crystallization Awakening, the one I didn't really like the animation for. Recover 68% of your maximum armor. That's a beefy heal. Raise your melee defense by 49%. It's pretty significant. Raise your shot defense by 29%. Okay. Raise your beam and physical resist by 39%. Okay. And your Gunpla resists flinching for a set amount of time. It's a very defensive-oriented awakening. Gives you heal, tons of resistances and defense. Interesting. Very defensive-oriented. Close Combat Pro Tag yet again. Okay. Arms. Beast of Possibility. A plus Pierce, A power, cutscene skill, cutscene cooldown. Stop EX cooldown recovery of all enemies. Now, see, this is where I expected to see it. Right here. This is where I expect to see something like that. I am now 100% sure this is a typo on GX's. I am 100% sure that was a complete typo. This is where I would expect to see it right here. Reduce shot attack of all enemies by 29%. Reduce melee defense of all enemies by 29%. Reduce physical resist of all enemies by 49%. This is literally just, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to do damage. I'm going to make every single other guy on your team mad that I hit you with this skill. That's what's about to happen here. And then he hits you. That's really cool. I like this. It's not extremely powerful. It's not like a jaw-dropping, you need to get this. But I'm looking at it, and this is just really cool. What it does and what it brings to the table. Again, I need to know how the stop EX skill cooldown recovery of all enemies works. I need to know the duration. Is it permanent? Is it on a timer? What is the timer? How long does it last if that's the case? All these other things. Because this could be very, very powerful, or it could be kind of okay. Alright, legs. When armor is 30% or more, squad cooldown minus 20% seconds. Yeah, okay. Armor 30% or more is super easy to do. And what cooldown? Okay, yeah, hey, first trait, excellent. While close combat, all enemy cooldown time up 25%. So the way this is worded, it seems like everything, but at the same time, I've mentioned before, from what I understand, this will only really affect stuff targeting the suit this is equipped onto. It's not like a global, just, yeah, you 25% cooldown extra. Maybe that is how it works, in which case, baller. But yeah, it's because of the way that things are worded in this game, at least for the global translation and localization of it, it can be very hard to really tell what stuff does. So, anyways, first trait, absolutely amazing. Second trait, okay. If it does actually just flat give every enemy a 25% CDR thing, cool. That's an amazing part as well. Backpack. Shot attack down 30%, so you're doing 30% less shot damage. However, this is definitely more of a melee suit, so that's not really a big deal. All enemies EX skill damage plus 35%. Powerful. When buffed, this is easy to do. There's tons of buffs in this game from all sorts of sources, whether it's an awakening, an EX skill, an actual straight like delta, alpha, beta buff, whatever. When buffed, debuff EX skill time up 50%. 50% extra duration. I've talked about debuff durations already. First trait, great. Second trait, no. All right, Beam Magnum. Outfighter Job, initial squad charge plus 27%. Dude, that's dope. That's really good. And shot attack down 30%. All enemies EX skill damage up 35%. No issues with this Magnum. Very, very powerful. You can put it onto your main suit. You can put it onto a different suit. As it is a beam rifle that requires an outfighter job, this would work on a melee suit. Which you'd want to use it on because of the second trait reducing 30% of your shot attack. You don't want to put this on a suit focusing on shot. You want to put this on a melee suit. So this could very well go on your primary. Good stuff. And lastly, our shield. When armor is 30% or more, squad buff EX skill effect up 30%. So literally anyone in your squad uses a buff, 30% bonus added to it. And while pro tag, squad EX skill power plus 30%. This is something you slap onto one of your team, like one of your teammate frames. So your primary DPS stays the way it is, but one of your other two get this just for the squad buff benefits. That's actually really nice. Cool stuff. So the Unicorn Gundam, the whole luminosity thing, is really good. Packs a lot of heat, lots of good values on it. That Beast of Possibility, really neat looking. Cool stuff. All right, and lastly, the turn A, and then I get to stop and I get to sleep. Yes. All right, turn A head, Moonbeam Butterfly, A Pierce, A minus power, 67 seconds, let's say percent, 67 seconds active duration, and a cooldown of 60 seconds, 6 initial. It's kind of like medium longish. So this is a counter, meaning you activate it and you pretty much get a stance active in your buff bar. When the enemy hits you with a bindable EX skill during that 67 second duration, they will be automatically hard countered. You charge into the fray, attack with your saber, discharge nanomachines, blah, blah, blah. You recover 5% of your armor at a time for the duration of it, recover 40% of your maximum armor as just kind of a thing, and raise your shot attack by 39%. It's a pretty comprehensive package. You counter, you give them a little bit of a beatdown, you heal a bunch, and you get a healthy almost 40% boost to your shot. That's honestly pretty nice for when the enemy goes, hey, I'm about to use a bisect on you. And you go, yes, but actually no. I'm okay with this. Okay. Torso. Nuclear missile. Produce and launch the nuclear missile stowed in your chest hatch. That's where it like pulled it out, threw it, shot it, kaboom. A Pierce, A Power, cutscene cooldown. Even though it's not a cutscene skill. Very interesting. Now, the one issue that I have with this is the effective area that it actually does damage in isn't really that big, at least based on what we saw. Because if I bring up the Twitter video again, let's get rid of you and let's bring up ye old turn AZs. So like, you have your, no, that's the wrong one. It should be this one. Yes. So you pull it out, you throw it, and kaboom. So if you're looking at it from like just that, it doesn't seem to really have that large of an active blast. Like, don't get me wrong, it's big. But considering nuclear, that seems a little small. A little bitty. Anyways, alright. A Pierce, A Power. My real like thing with this is the fact that it has a cutscene tier cooldown and like those are its values. That's just kind of With that kind of a cooldown, I would expect the blast radius to be like 2 to 3 times as large, honestly. To be fair, there's only one enemy, so it might have had longer range than we know from the preview. We need to get it and test it. Yeah, unfortunately, that's one of the biggest issues that I have, is a lot of this is conjecture, because, like, I have no way to test this without rolling the part. There's no in-game cutscene or anything viewer for this stuff. Like, we're going purely based off what we see. But at the end of the day, for something that has a cutscene level cooldown, A Pierce, A Power on a Sokai limited suit, that is just underwhelming. If this had like a 40-second cooldown, sure, I got you. But cutscene for that? There's also the fact that the throwing distance may be fixed and not dependent on enemy placement. Oh, that would be brutal. Consider that the atomic bazooka also has a similar sized EX. It's accurate. Yeah, I just, for what this costs to use and what suit it's on, I just don't think this is a very valid trade-off for it. Like, it's not inherently a bad EX skill. It's a large amount of coverage for what it is. But, like, man, you pay a cutscene cooldown for that. That's just lackluster, man. Alright, arms. While Pro Tag, all enemy, all damage plus 40%. Pro Tag, super easy to get. 40% all damage boost. That's, oh boy. When beam resistance is over 5,000, that's super easy to do, barely an inconvenience. EX skill cooldown reduced by 23%. Overall, very nice, gives you some healthy boosts, your CDR, an all damage boost, and it's just have enough beam resistance and Pro Tag. Sure. But what about New Xeon? Is that one basically full screen? It is not the entire map, but Colony Drop is a significant size of explosion. That is something that will easily cover most maps. Outside of like the really crazy ones like oh god, what the hell was the name of that map? The one that like always lags because it's just big and bulky. I can't remember the name of it. Mass Driver, I believe it is. Anyways, very few maps are big enough where that skill can be effectively avoided. And on most maps, it will cover most of the ground. At least the new Gundam's Colony Drop. When I look at that with its cooldown and its power values, that makes sense. When I look at this skill with its cost values, the damage and the size, it's like this is really just not worth it. So, yeah. Colony Drop is also affected by mid and long shooter limit break range boost. Yeah, it's crazy the value that you get out of Colony Drop, and then you look at something like this, and it's like, you can always make the argument though, oh, well, you know, the Colony Drop is a build project special, so of course it's really, really good. And it's like, no, I got you. But this is a post-power creep, because New Xeon was pre-power creep. This is a post-power creep, limited Sokai, 7-star, alteration. And this is what you get for a cutscene trade-off. Again, I'm not saying this is a bad skill. I'm just saying it feels like this could have been way more badass. And they just didn't for some reason. It's weird. Colony Break only shoots one person but destroys a colony with no one on it. Yep, sounds Gundam to me. Anyways, turn A Gundam. Hands, pretty cool stuff. Let's move on to the legs. Legsies. With dual sabers, category equipped, recover 1,000 armor gradually. I've already talked about that recovery. When armor is 1% or more, 100% chance to survive available. So the legs are literally, you will survive. You will revive, you will heal. Unfortunately, as the 1,000 armor, it's just not sufficient enough. When you get up to ridiculously high armor values, this really just won't do much for you. And the survive a fatal blow, again, if you are dying to stuff, you need to approach it differently. Beam sabers! Job gauge increase down 5%. To me, that's not even a demerit. Again, I don't like the job gauge. I think it'd be way better than what it is. So this is not a demerit. Enemy all damage plus 50%. That is spicy. While heavy armor, enemy EX skill damage plus 50%. Now, heavy armor is interesting. It's not the most available tag. Like, don't get me wrong. You can easily fill out an entire suit with it. but it's not as common on really high-end parts. It's much less common. This boosts your shot attack, melee defense, and shot defense by 5%, as the Turn A is more of a shot-centric suit than it is melee-centric. This makes sense. You get your 50% all damage boost, 50% EX skill damage boost. Trade-offs are heavy armor, and you lose 5% job gauge increase. Honestly, that 5% job gauge increase is minimal to begin with. So really, heavy armor is the biggest demerit on here. And you can make it work. Heavy armor does activate a couple of really good traits. It is available. You can sub-slot it. It's just not on the most ideal of parts in most situations. But if you really want to make it work, you absolutely can. All right, let's look at our Gundam Hammer. Flexible Smash, D Pierce, A- power, low cooldown. In case you forgot, that is this skill here, the very first one that was shown off. That's where you do the little flourish in front of you that actually hits the enemy, and then you throw it. Now, unfortunately, so to get the full damage value out of this, you have to be close enough to the enemy that your wind-up spins will actually hit the opponent. If you're far enough away, you're going to miss all the damage output by these first handful of spins. And then after the wind-up is done, you then throw it a significant distance in front of you to hit whatever was there. There's two issues with this, right? One, like I said, you have to get close enough to your opponent for that beginning spin flourish to hit them. That's how you get the full damage out of the skill. The second problem is when it's actually thrown forward. And this really isn't like, I look at this as a demerit. It has a relatively limited range. Like, that's not excessively far. Then again, it is a melee skill, so you really wouldn't expect it to go very far. But to me, these two things together kind of give it a big demerit style mess. You got to be really close to hit them with the entire thing, and in the scenario you can't get close enough for whatever reason, you have to make sure you're within range for the second part, the throw, to actually hit them. So, yeah. This could be an interesting combo. If you get survive and heal 1k, go to 1% armor more, you can survive a second hit. So, this is technically true, but from the way that I read that chance to survive a fatal blow, from what I understand reading that, you don't actually lose HP from that. It's like, you have a chance to survive. It would make sense if you're reduced to 1 HP, but you are right, and that on paper, it sounds like a very interesting thing where you could theoretically have immortal life, but it doesn't make sense for them to include that, right? That doesn't make sense. So this would be like the Shedinja strategy. I make my armor value so low, so unbelievably low, that the 1000 armor tick is enough to heal more than 1% of my overall armor, making me survive the next fatal blow, meaning they cannot kill me. I am a cockroach, and I will time this fight out if it's the last thing I do. It sounds very interesting on paper, but I doubt that they have that as like a functional thing. They probably forgot to include one time on this. Just saying. Anyways, on paper, sounds interesting. In practice, you're kind of risking it for the biscuit. Like, try it out. It could work. That'd be kind of funny. Anyways, beam rifle, turn A, A- power, D pierce. That was the one where it went down on one knee and fired that blaster, right? That was what that shtick was. Yeah. Bends down, fires a beam, hits the enemy a handful of times. It's your bog standard cross map beam. A- power, D pierce. It'll do good damage. The one downside here is the cooldown. As it's not a nice short cooldown, it's a 60-second, 15 initial cooldown, which is kind of big considering what it is. If it was like A+ power with C pierce, I would totally understand that cooldown. But A- power, D pierce? You had some weird cooldown decisions here, Bandai. This should be fundamentally broken if you're truly immortal. Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Is I can't see them creating that part and not sitting there and thinking, what if you recover quick enough? Like, there's no way they didn't sit there and think about that. I refuse to believe that oversight existed. All right. And lastly, the shield. And then after this, we get to do the capsules. Yay! All right. Turn A shield. Outfighter job. Enemy all damage plus 40%. All right, sure. Outfighter, easy to get. All damage 40%. That's a boon. When beam resistance is over 5k, easy enough to do. Enemy all power reduced by 45%. This refers only to the enemy that you have targeted / is targeting you, and it is only going to work on the suit this is equipped on. Very, very limited scope. The all damage plus 40% is nice, but we do have access to some neater shields, ones that have EX skills, some that have nicer traits, or things that might better merge with your build. Anyways, overall, one trait really good. One trait, interesting. Okay. Oh. Freedom! All right, so as I mentioned earlier, we are going to pop on over to the gacha. We're going to do some capsule pulls. Before then... Oh, hold on. You say that, but they removed the CD cap of 90% because of player outcry for people to suffer due to Arios leg span. They never really thought ahead, then they had to fix the issue with another trial that increases any... So here's the thing. The players sat there and threw a hissy fit, and they decided the easiest thing to do was just, sure guys, here you go. And then the players were like, yeah! And then it was literally that Gundam meme of, I'm a genius! Oh no! As the Arios legs show up and ruin everything. So it was really, we did that to ourselves. The devs just enabled us because players, you know, it's easier to just tell the players, we did what you wanted and this is what happened, than it is to say, we will not do what you want, and the players keep crying out about it. So with this kind of case, I see if they actually developed it to make it so you are immortal, shenanigans. If it's a typo, that's to be expected. If they didn't think about this being an actual thing, I would understand if it was on two different parts. Like if the leg had one of the traits and the shield had one of the traits. I can understand the oversight. But both of these traits being on one part, I refuse to believe somebody saw that and was like, this is good. Yeah, that's okay. What could go wrong? I have high hopes that they saw that. Anyways, I'm going to go get a proper drink now because I am very parched. And as much as I like the fun juice, it doesn't do a very good job of letting me talk. So I will be back in like 30 seconds. I'm just going to go get a glass of water and a spoonful of honey and die. Let's see here. Where is the... There it is. No. Where are you at? Is that it? Yeah, that was it. Look at me. I'm a genius. Turn this back on. Alrighty. Let's get going. Middle capsules. We're going to be here for a hot minute, gang, so buckle up. Should be able to do more damage how fast the heal ticks. Sure, but you got to remember, it's not so much like your stuff. It's more like how AIs handle it, right? Like you could effectively be immortal in arena with it if you're playing against AI, because they like spacing out their attacks a lot of the time. All right. Anyways, while I'm doing this, oh wow, nice! I got the firearms. I hope I got the backpack. For everyone that tuned in to hang out and stuff and check out the new patch content, you know, thanks as always, guys. Real fun. And I'll obviously be around for the next big patch they dropped. If you want to enjoy watching me blow all my capsule medals rolling stuff, feel free to stick around and do that. While I'm doing this, I'm also going to talk about some other like mobile game stuff just because. So anyone that was just here for GBM stuff, that's all done. Thanks for hanging out and stuff, and I'll see you around. And for the other stuff, I don't know about you guys, but so turn on auto sell. Oh yeah, I should probably do that, shouldn't I? I haven't configured the metal draw because the last time I did this was a long time ago. Yeah, I don't care about the 3-star lore stuff, honestly. Anyway, so like in a few hours, we have Grand Blue Fantasy updating with the new event. I don't care about the new 3-star parts. I'm only here for a few of the other stuff, dude. Oh, did I get the good melee weapon? Nice. Anyways, so Grand Blue Fantasy has its new Primarch event starting in a while. That'll be really nice because we finally get our hands on the first Primarch, playable Primarch in Grand Blue since its inception years and years and years and years and years ago. So that's really nice. And then we have the New Year event starting in a few days where we'll be able to get Rabbit. I don't know. I personally really like the design of Rabbit. It reminds me a lot of the Vieira race from Final Fantasy XIV, which is interesting. Fate Grand Order recently had its LB7 release. That was a lot of fun, actually. I had a lot of enjoyment playing ORT throughout most of the story and being able to enjoy, as a player, finally having an area of effect neutral attacks that didn't rely on a Noble Phantasm. That was really cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the banners that are coming with New Year bring. So, Alex, I know we have new 3-stars, and as I said, I just don't care about the 3-stars. I only care about the 4-stars, if anything. Right? So, I understand they're new. I understand that people go, but the collection, that's cool. I don't care that much about the collection. If it was like Kshatriya, if it was something I actually cared about, sure. But, oh yeah, look at that. It kept the Bear Guy F 3-star, even though I said to auto-sell. It's almost like it keeps new parts. Interesting. Yeah, you will go. ORT. Same thing. Come on. Yeah, part 2 will be a lot of... Did you already clear it, Mana? Like, did you already do all of the 10 chapters of part 1? Because that last fight was something. Oh boy. I saw the 1 million HP and I was like, how am I going to burn this down? And then I ran Melt with a couple of Scotties and that wasn't even a fight. That was a deletion. Yeah, no, I burned the 1 mil, and that was it. I died before I could burn the 10 mil because I honestly didn't care at that point. So yeah, I'm excited. I really want to see what the new servants are, and I really want Grand Blue to hurry up with its patch because I really want to use my roulette rolls for Michael. I'm really excited for Gabriel. She's my favorite of the 4 basic Primarchs. So excited for that. All right, last roll on the non-premium. Let's see what happens. Cool. All right, now let's roll the premium and truly suffer. So as I mentioned earlier, still playing Neural Cloud. I've actually, as much as I don't like roguelike games, I'm actually finding a lot of enjoyment with Neural Cloud. Granted, it's 99% because I can full auto everything, and that makes my life a lot easier. It's neither here nor there. Yeah. And let's see, beyond that, Punishing Gray Raven, still playing a lot of that. That game's a lot of fun. I'm excited to finally, when we catch up to CN, if we ever do. But, for example, the new Alpha frame looks really dope. I think it's a little, normal Alpha. Crimson Abyss was like a 10 out of 10 on the weeb scale because she really channeled her inner Virgil and had I slide my katana slightly out of my sheath and it just slices everything on screen kind of deal, like super weeb. And then you got the new Alpha frame and it's like, yeah, so take that, but dial it up to 12. It's a little much. Did you know that they adjusted the rate? It's 3% for 4-star now. Oh, okay, cool. Hey, when I heard Virtual, I'm in. Yeah, Rob, if you've never played Punishing Gray Raven or seen any of the content for it, I do highly recommend checking out the new, I think it's Crimson Weaver is the name of the new frame, so Alpha Crimson Weaver. But she is a extremely Virgil style frame, all about the one swing is 10,000 cuts kind of deal. Super long katana, I can't remember the exact name of it, Odachi or something, but yeah, it's just one of those super fan service style characters. Not my personal cup of tea in terms of combat aesthetics, but it's a new lightning DPS, and I've been using Veritas for long enough. I do kind of want to change up my my comp. No. Sephiroth is super, super, super long katana. Alright, so I got nothing with those medals, and I'm not really that surprised. I got a couple of 4 stars, but nothing crazy. But that's to be expected, honestly. Alright. Well, with that, guys, I've kind of done everything I needed to for this. I've gone over all the new content, all the new alterations. I've blown all of my medals, hoping to get one of the broken parts. Didn't happen, but, that's how it be. That's how Gacha do. And it's 1:30 in the morning, and I do kind of want to get some sleep before 5 a.m. Meanwhile, I'm stuck with Rosetta because she's just a Gundam. Yeah, that is true. She's very mechanical. Rating for the next Nanami pilot and mech. Man, we actually got a bot in here. That's 11 out of 10. Jesus. Let's see here. Report. Yes. And then I'll just remove the other two. Oh, no, I'll just do that. Hide the user. And then I can... Yeah. Perfect. Remove. Remove. Perfect. Hi, I'm new to the game. Do you speak Spanish? No! I do English. English. That's it, man. Anyways, I'm going to wrap up, guys. I do kind of want to get some sleep, like I said. Thanks for coming around, hanging out as always, dudes. I'll see you guys probably in a couple of weeks for new Gundam content. I will be doing a video for my New Year rolls in Grand Blue Fantasy and Fate Grand Order. I may turn them into a stream depending on how things go. I'll play that by ear. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for hanging out, guys. I hope everyone had a great Christmas, happy holidays, all that, and happy New Year as well. Peace out. See you guys in the next one.